Hello, everyone.
Very excited to see you guys here today.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
So,
Good afternoon for some.
even maybe good like evening for many.
Yeah. As usual, we're very international.
Yeah.
A lot of people tuning in from different parts of the world.
Let us know if you went to the past 3 days webinar with Pedro. You can let us know in the chat. It was very fun. Well, I think we should get started now. I think it's a good time to get started. What do you think? Probably not.
Yeah, sure. I think that we'll get started with the program and the presentation today. So tune in with us. So we have some alumni with us from last year, also to share their experience, and we have also our students from this year that are going to be presenting some of the projects from chapter 1 and 2, where we are with the program. So we're happy, basically to introduce yourselves and to just run through first, what is DesignMorphine, how we started, and then go into what is computational design, and move forward into the program itself. We're going to have a time for everyone to ask questions, so don't hesitate to write them in the chat. And we're going to also show you a little bit back of scene, how everything works, and what we actually use in order to keep connected with the students from everywhere in the world. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Svetlana to start introductions.
Sure. If just real quick, if the rest of you want to put your mics and cameras off until it's your moment to shine, will be good.
Hello, everyone. My name is Svetlana Georgieva. I'm co-founder and executive director of DesignMorphine. First of all, thank you so much for being with us today. I hope it will be very interesting for you to learn more about DesignMorphine and the master's program that we are offering. Basically, our journey started back in 2014, and through DesignMorphine, we are able to connect with people from all over the globe and empower them and fuel their passion for collaborative design. We had the privilege to have taught thousands of specialists and nurture their progress in some of the biggest companies in the world. DesignMorphine is a catalyst for collaboration with people who we admire deeply as individuals and professionals. Our team is comprised of 48 talented architects and designers and a number of collaborating organizations, which gives us a multidisciplinary approach to design and its education across a gradient of applications. We are a community dedicated to academia, but we also, all of us, we are professionals who practice our craft daily, and this allows for great versatility within the team. Some statistics about DesignMorphine and our journey. Until now, we have taught students from more than 84 countries all around the world. We traveled in a number of cities all across the globe. We had many workshops in Asia, in Middle East, in Europe, and of course US, like yesterday's collaboration with Harvard that Michael mentioned. And we also created many projects on many different topics. Our pedagogy surpassed the teaching of technical skills, since we always challenge our students to give their best. First and foremost, we are a community, and as such, we support our students' dreams and empower them. Many have been accepted to universities like Harvard, the Architectural Association, SciArc, or have been accepted to work in many reputable offices like Zaha Hadid Architects, Foster & Partners, BIC, Nike, Wow the World, PlayStation, and many more. Some past examples of our students' work on multiple scales and topics like jewelry, architecture, installations. One thing always connects them, and this is the experimentation and unique workflows. As you can see, we are heavily invested not only in the virtual world, but also in fabrication. We also collaborate on product design with our partners. And one example is with our partner, Arturo Tedeschi. We created the suspension lamp called Horizon, which encapsulates a freeform 3D printed shape within a handmade glass shelter manufactured in Morano in Italy, and it was also part of Venice Glass Week 2020. Of course, if you are interested to learn more about DesignMorphine and our newest endeavors, you can always check on social media where we are very active and post everything new.
Thank you, Catalina, for the intro. I'm Pavlina Vardulaki Pryor, and I'm co-founder also of DesignMorphine and the creative director of the program. So I'm excited to just share with you something that it's, in the core of DesignMorphine, what we do and what we share as knowledge for the past 9 years. So that's what it's called computational design. Basically, the computational design is the application of computational strategies to the design process, and it aims to enhance the process by encoding design decisions using a computer language. And the first question one might ask is, but isn't a computer using a computer for design computational design? And that's actually a great question. And we can go back to the beginning of the design professions, right? Like architecture and design in general. And we can see there that basically designers drew by hand, and each stroke of the pencil was informed by the need of documentation. But as technology advanced, drafting boards and pencils were replaced by computers, and however, the process of design and documentation remained exactly the same, only the medium changed. And that's where we arrive to what we all know as CAD, computer-aided design, which essentially copies existing physical actions into the digital world. Like same actions that you would do with the pencil and, like with the stroke. So the computer is treated here as an aid rather than the contributing part of the design process. And here in this chart, we can see the most used CAD commands and which of those are mostly used together. And if we do all these commands and understand the repetitive processes and patterns and how we use them, and how we optimize, we can think about how to optimize the design workflow in a way that lets the power of the computer truly help the design process. And we arrived exactly at the beginning of computational design thinking, which is basically defining parameters and rules of design, but having computational processor execute it. A design becomes a series of operations that can be adapted to multiple situations and conditions. And computational design, the most important thing that one should remember, it's a mindset. It's not, it doesn't have to do actually with computers themselves. It's a great example of that is how Anthony Gaudi's La Sagrada Familia, which is an ecosystem of geometry that emerged by a set of rules led by structural stability of the stone. And this geometric language is documented in manuals that were destroyed during this Spanish Civic War. And today, actually, computational design is the key of restoring the original design intent. That's how this design is continuing even nowadays. And since the building logic is encoded, as we said, into the already existing structure of the church, that's possible. Contemporary example in architecture, it's a great extreme case, as we can say. It's the Sports Hall of Fame by Trahan Architects. And here you can see that, again, a computational structure system. Here that's defined and was able to adjust the structure. It's able to adjust itself to the change of the architectural form. So the rules of the system create the structure, the architects create the form, and sometimes the computer will restrict the form so that the structure can work. And this basically helps prevent the designer from making mistakes, as well as frees up much, like time from mundane tasks and lets the architect think more about the big picture, gestures, and design. And these logics, again, they're, applied to many different design industries, not just architecture. Architecture has been the first one to play a major role in that. And that's because of the complexity and scale of what, architects have to deal with in their projects. But we see that being infiltrated. And here we have another example, exactly, like of computational design, and that's from Zaharit and Strutasis, which developed custom workflow with repeated iterations between design and structural analysis. And it also utilizes material saving parameters developed by Altair Technologies. And in the video, you can see the program with parameters that they developed in order to allow the visualization of the chair and how would it look in different colors and with different, perforations and just options of how it would look, but at the same time also understanding the performance, the materiality, designing in a, sophisticated way, as we could say. And these are some of the optimization topologies and structural analysis that are running in the background in order to get the final result. And the beauty of this is as the design changes, or even as, maybe some of the parameters become more important than others, the design could change and it could have different options and variations. So basically, computational design, as you can see, it helps you automate repetitive tasks, lets you prove your design decisions with real data, and it forces you to think about design in terms of chunks of processes that can be used in many conditions. And the best part as an architect and designer for me, to be honest, is actually that exactly computational design is multidisciplinary, is multiscalar, and it allows for this mindset to be applied across all industries of design, and that's the beauty of it. And if we take it a step further into the fusion of multiple software and hardware and use them unconventionally, a lot of these softwares were built for other purposes, but then repurposing and, finding different workflows, that's where you can really find some innovative design ideas that you could have never imagined. And we see this fusion of computational design more and more into these other industries past architecture, going into fashion design. And one example is with Aris van Herpen, animation. Lee Sauder, he's an amazing animator, very well known. He's incorporating computational design into his designs. We see a lot of work done with Renault and other car companies to embed different patterns and different strategies with computational design. And also companies again with fashion design or footwear, they incorporate these logics onto their design processes. We even see Apple actually hiring for computational designers. And, it's a wave that it's infiltrating in all these industries. And that's where, our excitement for today is to share with you basically our Master of Science in Computational and Advanced Design. And, this basically Masters was, envisioned, and it was created with this mindset that exactly design is, coming together, and design is going to be computational design is infiltrating all these different industries, and we just want to empower design students to be able basically to work in all these different industries. Our Master of Science basically is running now for the second year. It's a Master of Science in Computational and Advanced Design. The program is specifically crafted to be online. It's fully accredited also and worldwide recognized by the University of Architecture, Civil Engineering and Geodesy, the UACEG, which was founded in 1942 in Sofia, Bulgaria, which is mine and Svetlina's alma mater. That's where we graduated as architects. And the mindset and techniques and software taught in this program can be applied exactly as we said, like in any creative field. And that is vital because it allows for great versatility and diverse professional experiences. As I mentioned, that we're in the second year of the program, and we have the privilege to be working with 30 incredible designers and architects all across the globe. And the distinctiveness of the program lies on several key elements. One of them is exactly like the unique opportunity of experiencing through the program these multiple different industries and scales of design and operation through the lens of computational design, looking into architecture, metaverse design, fashion, industrial, interior, urbanism, vehicle, animation, robotics, all through the lens of computational design. And it allows for great versatility because it's crafted to be online experience, and as such requires no additional expenses like model making or printing, with the exception of the RoboLab, where a lot of the students are creating their own swarm robots, RoboPets. We are applying our own accredited, basically accelerated pedagogical methods that allow students to absorb information efficiently. And this has been something that we've been focused on the past 9 years with DesignMorphine, starting with the workshops that Svetlina mentioned, working with so many people across the world and understanding exactly like how to really teach difficult, processes that are advanced processes, like in, short amounts of time, working with those workshops. And here exactly with the program in 9 months, we're pushing the boundaries of that. And that's where we're heavily involved and heavily teaching and gearing the conversation towards software. And we're working with people sometimes that have zero experience, but again, they're successfully able to absorb and, apply the more than 15 softwares coming out of the program. With this being said, also a great advantage, I would say, and something that definitely makes me proud of being in DesignMorphine is the educators and the community itself. And here with the program, students have access to more than 30 educators and mentors who have real life professional experience in the best companies and universities in the world, applying computational design daily. And this is something unprecedented for a master's degree. And also our chapter presentations include our communities. The students, half of our alumni from last year received job offers from eminent companies driving the future of design, and receiving also awards for their work in the program. And that's only from the past year, the first year of the program. So we are very proud for these, for their achievements. But the most vital of all, again, is the DesignMorphine has its disruptive nature and a fearless drive to build a united design community. Basically, this is something that will be part of each of our students' growth perpetually, the same way that it has been part of our growth throughout this last 9 years. We keep in touch with everyone who have been working with, and support them throughout their whole journey. So a little bit more about the program itself, how it's structured. It's organized in a unique way. It's building up the knowledge, and also it's building up in scale. they're, you know, like it's strategically like organized in order exactly like for this advanced knowledge to grow throughout the program. It's based on 5 leading design chapters and 5 supporting technical and theoretical labs that span over the 9 months course. The chapters are around 7 weeks long, and while the labs are 1 week, and each chapter follows the following rhythm. In the first couple of weeks, basically the students prepare for their design phase with pre-recorded tutorials from their chapter leads that have to do exactly like, you know, like they're geared towards exactly the chapter and the focus and the software and the scale of operation that we're going to be reviewing. Also, they have one-to-one time with their core leads and their technical lead. This year, we have the pleasure to be working with Eva Jefes and Tung Pengen and Pedro Venegas Rodriguez, who have been by the student side constantly, and it has been an amazing opportunity for the students to grow and have support throughout the whole program. And they're by their side throughout the whole duration. In the next couple of weeks, week 3 and 4, that's where Design Studio is happening, and that's where the students meet daily for 4 hours with their chapter leads and their core leads, and there is you know, like these daily meetings with the tutors are helping them really advance their design skills, because these are the same people that created the pre-recorded tutorial, the same people that are, you know, like applying these skills in the industries in different ways. So this is a great opportunity to push the design in these phases. And in the last 3 weeks, that's where we have labs and presentation preparations. And for the presentations, we invite our partners and community, and that's a great way to gain exposure and even land the job sometimes. With this being said, the labs, as I mentioned, there are 5 again, and they play a vital supporting role in the chapters, and they're around like 1 or 2 weeks long, and they're strategically placed to boost students' performance during each chapter. So depending on the lab and where exactly like it makes sense to be positioned, and how to actually, you know, incorporate more knowledge in order to push the chapter itself. And with this being said, I'm just going to go and have an overview over like the chapters and the labs, so you gain a little bit more perspective. Starting with chapter 1, it's what we call prosthesis. So basically, we start the whole program with what is the concept lab, creating a scenario-based approach and envision the fundamental element, first and foremost, which is the human body. And the technological future this body will operate within. We're looking into cyborgs, half human, half machines, exoskeletons, augmented beings, and mutations. And as I mentioned before, because like each chapter also is focused on software, it's not only about design. It's where we first incorporate Maya, ZBrush, and basically like polygonal modeling strategies and animation strategies for design. And during this chapter, basically, like students are confident to work with all these softwares coming out of it. And moving on to chapter 2, that's where students have gained the perspective from, you know, like Maya and ZBrush, but now we're like moving on to something which is called Corpuscle. So that's the living conditions and spaces that this body requires. And we work with interior and exterior spaces and answer questions about ephemerality, mobility, adaptability, and transformability. And this chapter is focused on component-based design and user interaction systems. And we have now like the next step, like on the software side, is merging and understanding the interoperability between polygons and rhino nerves, subds, and grasshopper. So as you see, like as the chapters are moving forward, students are building more and more knowledge like on the software side, and being able also to focus their attention every time towards like a different set of challenges, different scale, under the same umbrella, and different softwares are building up throughout the whole process. with chapter 3, amalgamation. And the objective is to conceive and explore the core, basically like the way the corpuscles develop and create communities through clusters and aggregations. And the very question of what constitutes a community of people. And we bring the same scenario and design principles through the chapters. The same logics that like were built like from the concept lab to prosthesis, corpuscle, and now amalgamation. And here we're looking into the generation and optimization of rule-based structures. So very much the focus is on parametric and generative design with Grasshopper. Moving into chapter 4, that's a very exciting chapter where we're focusing on vehicles and expanding into various complex structures with together as transportation and mobility systems, working with horizontal, vertical, underground, organic, road-based systems, and again, like working with Houdini for the most part, VDP systems, particle simulations and flows, and etc. And incorporating again different kinds of interoperability, levels of interoperability with Maya and ZBrush also. And our last chapter, it's what's called cosmogony, and as you can imagine, it's the building of a new world. In Greek, that's what cosmogony means, and it's basically all the previous chapters and stages lead to this stage, which is developing and creating a larger scale world, the city. And by zooming out, obviously new challenges arise in terms of creating complexity and encoding and behavior. That is the primary focus here. So we're working with C#, agent-based growth algorithms with Grasshopper also. So these are the major chapters throughout the program itself. That, as we said, like they're around 7 weeks long. And in those chapters, we have like the labs incorporated. As I mentioned before, the concept lab is where the connecting tissue of these masters concept-wise, and it's an essential vertebra of the program, creating a cohesive conceptual narrative across all chapters. And its goal is for students to develop this scalable conceptual framework for their idea. And this year we were using Midjourney and AI in order to create those images and ideas and really push the boundaries of what, you know, like the could be. And it has been a very, very interesting approach to incorporate this into the concepts and how actually it's leading the next chapters also. With this being said, this is the concept lab, and moving forward into media. Media, it's incorporated into the corpuscle chapter and is focused on to rendering techniques with V-Ray and R-Note, and then the post-production part of that. But here, the most important part for this media lab is actually creating unique styles and renderings with personal touch and attention to detail that's are geared towards each project individually. It's not one style that we're going forward with. Each of the teams of students, they are the ones that have the power to create their own narratives and basically take decisions about like how this world is going to be envisioned, and the media lab is like where it's supporting and adding knowledge to that. The prototype lab that it's coming up in chapter 3, that's where prototyping is. We're working with, we're focusing on laser cutting, CNC milling, vacuum forming, 3D printing to understand the prototyping principles and the machines, how they learn, how they work, and how to prepare digital models and optimize them for fabrication processes. And this year, the focus of the lab will be 3D printing. And students, they'll submit a visualized version. They are not required to, you know, like 3D print or create these models in real life. When we have exhibitions like with as the one that we have now with the university, and we'll be preparing for the next one for this year, we're the ones that are printing and preparing those prototypes to be exhibited. With the media, after that, like talking about the robotics lab. So robotics lab, that's something super fun. It's part of the Kinesis chapter. Students are building multifunctional small robots with Arduino. So they're working with specific conditions and rules and sensors that could be like of sound, luminosity, or movement. And they're dealing with aspects such as material properties, geometry, structure, joinery, assembly, programming, sequence, etc. It was super fun last year to see some of the students' pets being very confused by, like when they were building those robots and they were like swarming around their houses. In virtual reality, something that it's again infiltrating every aspect of design. We're talking about again like building the characters, basically like shaping these digital projects into an experience. This lab, the students learn to utilize Unreal Engine and turn their projects into interactive VR models, make exciting animations, demonstrate the concepts and more. And that's toward the end of the program where all assets from all 5 chapters are coming together, and the students are really utilizing this knowledge to build something incredible for their last presentations. And with this being said, also, I just wanted to share about something we just started. When we started, it was during the pandemic, the first year, but in this year we had the opportunity to invite our students from the previous year and this year's students, so we could meet together in New York, and we had the opportunity to work collaborative with Microsoft Garage, which is a place for creativity in Soho. And some of our students were able to join us, and we had an amazing opportunity also to learn about entrepreneurship and learn a lot about exactly how to basically sell our ideas, create unique presentations, and it was an amazing time that we had together. We're also inviting our students this year to join us in Sofia, Bulgaria towards the end of the program, and to work together with their core leads in Sofia in our studio. So with this being said, the next steps for today are going to be Michael Pryor is going to walk us through some of our information on the website, show you a little bit of the back scene, how we work with Miro and also Teams, and how we communicate with our students. And we'll move into the questions and answers, portions of the presentation today, where our alumni are going to join us. And afterwards, we're going to have 4 of our teams that are going to share with you their progress throughout chapter 1 and 2. So yeah, super excited. Thank you, guys.
Hello. So yeah, so we'll go over now basically a bit about the workflow, how things are set up, and all that fun stuff there. So so yeah, first of all, our websites, I'm sure you've all been to it. The master's program is here, so you can find all of this information we're talking about and more here. That's Alumni just went over, talking about the team. You can select any of them, it'll bring you to their information. All of them are from working in these companies. They're all practicing designers, using these tools every day in their work, in their careers. Description of each chapter that Evelyn went through. I can just go over the software again, and the first chapter is mostly focusing on learning how to manually polygonal model, because it's an important foundation to then manipulate things computationally. So first chapter is mainly with Maya and ZBrush. Then we start moving into Rhino and Grasshopper, and then start moving into automated assembly systems with Grasshopper plugins like Wasp and Rhinoceros, different types of assembly systems. Then we move into Houdini for procedural design systems. And then at the end, last chapter, we move into coding, primarily with C# and various agent systems. Labs, you have your concept lab, which this year we introduced AI and Midjourney, using Midjourney to construct and tell stories and narrate concepts. A media lab, which teaches you how to render and create high quality images and outputs. Prototype lab, which teaches you about fabrication, computational fabrication. Robotics lab, which teaches you about robotics and coding for robotics, where you actually make a little robot. And then virtual reality lab, which is about Unreal, basically focused mostly on Unreal Engine and interactive design. And you can see our partners here this year so far: Microsoft, Chaos Group, Shapediver, Product Architecture, Rhinoceros, and of course UACEG, our collabing university. At the bottom of the page, you'll find a bunch of Q&As, all the usual stuff that people ask. Definitely check those out, and we can go back to those. Now, the way that the program is set up, it primarily runs through teams, which you see here. And each channel is representing one of the chapters or the lab. And then, of course, there's a general channel. And basically, as we move through each chapter, we switch to that chapter's channel, right? And these channels are live. They're 24/7. People are always around, asking questions, answering questions, getting help. These are on the kind of, off hours from the actual, live sessions with the tutorial, with the tutors, with our educators. So right now in this current one, we're just at the beginning of amalgamation. So not too much in here yet, but there is a bit. But as you see, it's very, answering questions, getting help, asking questions if you have problems, and us helping other students, helping each other, and all that. An important part of this program is that you'll start the program with a partner, and for the most part, you and your partner will go through all the chapters together, working on these designs. So, like most master's degrees in design, it is a team-based effort for the most part, or designed to be a team-based effort. The most important thing here, other than that, is this links, which has all these various links for the different aspects of this program that we'll go over. The first one here is getting started. This will give you all the information you need for getting started with the program, getting your accounts, signing into your accounts, and all that. Also, how to get software. Being an accredited university, you get all the student software, and most of them are free because of the student email address. Miro, which is where we primarily do all of our work. So our Miro looks like this. and it's basically set up in the same way by chapters, and then there's labs as well. And each chapter has a progress board and a finals board. And the progress boards are gray, and the final of that chapter is in color. The labs are just one because they don't have a final presentation, so you just work in there. And there's also various other design challenges, like we had a design challenge for like a day or two with Anouk. We had one before with Arturo. We had one with Mike Pell of Microsoft. And we have one coming up with Logitech. So I have two of these loaded. I have the Carpusel one. So work in progress board looks something like this. And it would be, if you see at the top, there's like names, right? So that's like the team, and then that's the progress of the entire chapter. The way that these chapters work is there's about 2 weeks of learning and first trials, and then there's 2 weeks with your educators of that chapter. And in those 2 weeks with the educators, you're meeting every day and showing new work. And every day you'll have to put new work on the Miro. So basically it's a crit every day for 2 weeks, showing new work, getting crit, showing new work, getting crit. And then depending on the chapter, there's 2 or so weeks after the educators where you're continuing work with your core leads and with us as mentors and working towards the final of that. And then some chapters have intermittent the labs depending on the chapter that we're on. So for those 2 weeks, so basically the entire duration of a chapter, it's expected to have new work every single day on the Miro board. And the first 2 weeks, you're meeting with your core leads who are there the whole time through the entire course. And then there's the 2 weeks in the middle where you're there with the chapter specific educators. So you can just see this here. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into it to get to the results that go. So there's and on both sides, there's a group A and group B for different time zones. And you'll be assigned a time zones for the most part based on where you're living. Okay. Now, after the work of the progress of that chapter, you'll move into the final, right? So the final is the same boards in the same place for your team, but it's set up, rendered, and laid out like a final presentation. And these are how we do our final presentations as well, directly through Miro. With critics, we always get guest critics who are from, leading companies in their industries. And for the most part, we try to get people who are in position of hiring to get get you in front of them and get some face time with them. So you can see how, and so here's then the B group here, right? So that's how the presentations work there. The program tab. So the other thing that we're using is Airtable. So the program, not going to really go through this specific program because it's for the current masters. So this could change and dates will be different. But basically, you have this program and it lays out every single thing for you: when it's happening, what days it's happening, when are important dates, when are presentations, when are things like study trips, holidays. So basically, it lays out the entire program, who's the leads of that time for the entire master's degree. the entire 9 months. Team is just another Airtable that has all the information about, you know, the educators and us and contact information and all that. So everyone can contact everyone, but for the most part, everything is through Teams with chats and channels. Student time off, just a form that you put if you're taking time off or if you miss class, it would go in there. Software primary. So this is an Airtable that basically tells you all the software you need, where to download it, what are the requirements, what are the licenses, how to get your, if there's trials, but how to get your student license for each one with basically the email you'll be provided by the university and documents that we give you when you join so that you can get. And we're in, we've talked to all of these companies, we're in talks with them, they all know, and so yeah, so you get the software there based on the documents we'll give you in your email address. Another one, software Grasshopper plugins, because that's like another subset. Grasshopper has a lot of plugins, so listing all the ones we use, where to download them. None of them cost any money. The only one is I think Monoceros, but it's provided for you as a master's student by the team there. Important one, tutorials. So this basically lays out all of the tutorials for the entire master's degree. And each chapter is a combination of intro tutorials, which are from very basic from the web, and then dedicated tutorials from our educators, which are pre-recorded. For instance, in chapter 1, we have 3 pre-recorded tutorials. I think each one of them is around 5 hours, right? And then there's just some basics stuff, like if you don't know any of the basics, there's, you know, basic links to what we consider to be the best kind of YouTube introductions or these things. So we've kind of filtered all that out for you, so you're not just randomly searching around the web. So it goes for each chapter, so you know exactly what to watch, exactly when to watch it, and what order that you should be learning and watching these things. Which brings us to the next thing, Stream. So Stream is part of the Teams Microsoft ecosystem, and you get access to this. You can only access it with your UACG email address. And it basically has all the tutorials from our educators for those chapters, right? So they're very specific tutorials teaching the software for that chapter, but based on also what we're doing in that chapter. So for instance, this is the one for the upcoming master, so they're only up to, I just put this in order here. They're up to chapter 3, right? So right now chapter 3 is uploaded. So basically the new videos just get uploaded as the chapters go on. So these are kind of the ones from already, right? So now they're on these 2 here, which is amalgamation, where they're learning WASP and they're learning Monoceros. Rendering services, an important thing. You know, it's very important to have a good computer for what we're doing here. But if you can't, we also provide links to rendering services. These are very low cost render farms. In fact, a lot of students are using them because it can dramatically cut down your time in rendering. meaning, you know, you can pay a few dollars and finish all your renderings in like an hour versus trying to render on a not so great computer for days. So that is also an option if you can't afford like a you know, very high-powered computer. We have a inspiration Airtable. If that one maybe isn't working right now. Here we go. Which is a bunch of inspirational books and movies and video games and various videos, which are just like more, this is more like a kind of research thing. Just things we feel like people should see or watch, which are relative to the kind of concepts and things that we're looking at around. Another thing is digital library. As a student, you get access to the UACG's online library, which is basically a whole online library for books, just as any other library. And then lastly is self-evaluation, where students grade themselves, and then a link to see your actual grades per chapter as you're going. And then lastly, not here yet, but will be the book templates, because at the very end of the masters, you're providing us with a book and a video. A high quality video, which is describing your entire master's, an animation that you'll make through Unreal. And trying to see, so that's kind of like basically the ecosystem of it all. I don't know if there's anything else to add, but I think I would like to just go through a few of these important ones. I just want to remind everyone that you can set up a one-to-one consultation with us. Usually you'll be speaking with Pavlina by emailing masters@designmorphine.com, and you can request a one-on-one Zoom to ask whatever questions, have any conversation you want with us. And just want to answer a few of these, but you should go through them. Our program is fully accredited, just like any other Master's of Science degree program. Do we provide students with employment opportunities? I think we try our best as anyone could. I mean, nothing is guaranteed, obviously. It heavily depends on your work as well, and how you're doing, but we're always trying to put our students in front of the right people. We try to invite people into our reviews that are in hiring opportunity positions, not just people that are educators or something. We try to get the right people in there. Software we went over. I think some important ones is this is, I think, an important one, the difference between 9-month and 12-month program. We get a lot of questions about this. So, both programs, 9-month and 12-month, you don't get to pick to take one or the other, and they're both the same 9-month program. The 12-month program is an additional 3 months of individual project study for students that may require more credits to be able to graduate. But for the most part, most students have enough credits. They only need to be in a 9-month program. So the 12-month program isn't offering anything extra. If you're in a 9-month and not 12-month, you wouldn't be missing anything educational wise. Basically, in those 3 months, you're working on your own project, and we'll just kind of like, review it and grade it. that makes sense. So it's not an optional thing. It's more like the 12-month is given to students that don't have enough credits, wouldn't have enough credits to graduate with 9 months. And then computer specs. This is an important one. You don't want to come into this program with a terrible computer. Like I said, you can get away with using things like rendering farms, but you don't want to have like an absolutely terrible computer. This is a profession that is computational design, right? It's computational, it needs computation. So you can't use like these like low-level computers. It just won't cut it. So definitely look there and check out what we recommend as of this point for now. And I'll just note that we don't recommend using Macs because a lot of the software and plugins don't really work with Mac. So we can't guarantee you what does and doesn't work with Mac. Yeah, I think you know, I don't want to go one by one by this. I feel like that could be a little boring, especially since it's here and you can go through it. And then of course the application is here. When you click that, will bring you to the application and you just fill this out. It's free application and you don't even need a portfolio unless you're applying for the scholarships. At the minimum, we just require 6 work sample images just to get an idea of what kind of work you've done and what kind of designer you are. I think that is about it from my end. And I think we're at a good point.
Thank you for sharing all this. I think that was like a great insight to the program and how exactly like, you know, like it operates. So I think that, you know, like we can open it now for some questions and Q&As and then move forward with like a closing with this year's students' presentations. So I'll just introduce some of our alumni. We're very excited for this, guys, because we finished our first year. Like we just received like the diplomas of our first year students. So it means a lot to us, you know, like for all these things to be manifesting and actually like happening. So with us, we have Eva Hefes, who is a core lead in the Masters. But also she's also a generative designer at Wilder World. So she's like here also like to, you know, like share her journey and answer any questions with us, like as we move towards like the Q&A portion of the presentation. We have Mohammad Kamar, who is also a generative designer. Hey, Mohammad. Hey, Ali. At Wilder World. So they're Eva and Mohammed are now working there together with another 3 actually like of our students from last year. So I'm sure that you guys have a lot of insights to share, you know, about the metaverse and generative design and how, you know, like this actually like aids the whole process. We have Nadia Kutireva with us. She is a 3D footwear designer at Nike. A couple of more of our students like actually like working with us at Nike right now in the world headquarters. So she's here also to share some experience about design. She's also has worked like in the past like with some really exciting projects about like space architecture. So a lot of insight on that side. And also we have Pedro Venegas Rodriguez. He's also a technical lead in the Masters and a professor at CUCP. He's a co-founder at of the Computational Design Lab at Lima, and also like working with has worked with Illusor and many other like things. So he has a lot of things on his plate. So thank you guys for joining us. I'm just going to introduce also like Tu Nguyen. He's not an alumni of the program, but he has been with us for many, many years. He started actually with DesignMorphine when he was, I think, like in his 2nd course in the University of Architecture and Civil Engineering with workshops. And he's now one of our core leads. So Thank you guys for joining us today, like for the Q&A portion and for sharing your experience also like with our community. So yes, guys, like you can actually, Mike, how was this working? Were they?
I think it doesn't matter. They can write it here if they want. They can write it in the chat or Q&A. And you have a question from Juan Sebastian, who's asking you, when is the deadline to apply?
Okay, so basically, like we have like 3 deadlines, not just one. One of them is now at the end of the month, actually like 1st of February. It's the early application. We're going to have, we also have the 1st of April as a deadline for applications for scholarships. And then the 1st of July, and that it's application about like last call, basically on applications.
Great. And then we have some questions from anonymous attendee, which I think I can answer. So thank you for the talk. I have some questions, which I hope you can help me with. How many students are there per cohort? So we have 30 to 40 students per year, split up between the 2 groups. So something like 20 per group, I would say, somewhere around that, 15 to 20 per group. Are students allowed to work alone? We prefer students not to work alone. Everyone works, starts in a groups. Design is we believe design is not a singular profession, it's a group-based profession. So you need to learn how to work together and collaborate together with others. Of course, there are certain situations that arise that we have had and do have some singular groups because of some things just happen that way. And how are the groups assigned? So groups are assigned based on, so we assign the initial groups, and the way we do it is by evaluating firstly the time zones that you're in. Obviously you want to try to be working with someone who is in the same time zone as you. Based on the work that you've provided, we try to find similarities. Based on other information and your background, so there's a bunch of factors that we put into it. And some of our best groups have all of these people didn't know each other beforehand, so it's so that's how we do that. How are the final projects graded? So the final projects, each chapter is graded, is basically graded, each student is graded individually, even though you're in groups, because it's very easy for us and your core leads to tell like if someone's carrying more weight than another. So everyone's graded individually, and each person is graded by us, the core leads, and the specific leads of that per chapter, and then those grades are averaged together.
There's an average
with other considerations as well. And do alumni get discounts for their DesignMorphine classes? There's nothing like that right now, because the classes are not, the webinars aren't connected with the master's degree. Totally different thing, and there are different tutors, and you can't just tell them like, hey, you have to give these discounts because of our master's degree. So so there's no connection there, but I would say probably you won't need many webinars after taking our master's degree.
There is also one good question. Can anyone apply to the Master of Science program with an unrelated undergraduate degree? So if it's totally unrelated, meaning like it's not from the design, like with any design background, that's where we have this basically like a diploma path that will unfortunately not give you any credits, but you can still like apply the knowledge like on your work, right? So if it's absolutely unrelated, but again, we've seen a lot of times that students, for instance, like send only their, like bachelor's, or they forget to send a master's degree, and, like you just need to send all your documents when you're applying. So we can actually review and have a full picture of what your background is and which of these three categories, like, one falls in. But I can say 99% of the students are in the 9-month program, and like through their, background. And
but we have had a few students that don't have any kind of undergrad or the right kind of thing, that have actually taken it just to have taken a program just to learn, like they didn't get a degree at the end. So that is also an option too. Like anyone can join. It's just whether or not you'll get a degree at the end or not. We have had a few people join that didn't care about getting a degree at the end. They just wanted to learn all the information in software.
Because it also depends, again, like on where you're applying, right? Like what is applying the knowledge into a professional field. But the other part is like, it's a Master of Science, right? Like, and if you're in the 9 or 12-month program, in this case, you're graduating with enough STS points to go into a PhD program. And, or, like some of universities, they require a Master's of Science, at least like to teach there. So those like are the things that like actually you're benefiting from an actual Master of Science. Other than that, like in the professional world, especially probably like in the US, the skill set is more valuable than, like the accreditation. So it depends on the path and the interest and, like where you're going with that. But we do believe in, opening these opportunities for everyone who wants to learn.
So we have from Raymond, have you had students successfully complete the course while working full-time? For example, I work in an architectural office. Yes, we've had, I would say half of our students work, half don't. And honestly, it has nothing to do with who does good and who doesn't do good. It's 100% you, like it's your time management and your kind of dedication into the program. It is a Master of Science degree in Computational and Advanced Design. It's a demanding program. It's technical. It's not, it's not like a high school class or something, right? Like it's a demanding master's degree program. But I mean, we've had people, for instance, Alab, I think he was working 2 jobs while taking the master's, and he was,
I think at some point 3.
At some point he was working 3 jobs and taking the master's, and he was like, like these guys here as well, like one of the top, students of that year, and actually is working with me now at Wilder World.
Eva, also Anthony, yeah, like there are many, yeah.
Yeah, so there was a lot of people. Yeah, Ava, you were working, I think, at some point, right? Yeah, so
but like I remember Anthony was like working 3 jobs, like literally 3 jobs at the same time. So
yeah, actually some of our best people were working and also not. But again, like you have people that weren't doing as good and not working. So it really depends on you and how you can manage your time and all that. So, some people can, some people can't.
Nadia is saying if you have the chance not to work, it helps a lot. Oh, good point, Nadia.
But you have to be a driven person too, right? Like, I mean, anyone could not do the work, working or not working, right?
Yeah.
Can we use Juan Sebastian, can we use different softwares than the ones used in the workflow? Not really. We specifically designed the workflow and the learnings for the softwares that are popular in computational design and what's desired in computational design. And I think it wouldn't really make sense not to use them, because that's kind of the point of the program, is to learn these software. We let you use the software from the masters like through different chapters if you want, but it's not like you're going to take this program and use like AutoCAD, right? Like we don't care about that, right? So we're sticking to the
it matters a lot because like these are industry leading like softwares, and that's where like the whole experience is designed in that way, not just like about like what you're actually making or what you're designing and the chapters, but like the part of like the softwares and you learning them and having understanding. It's very important because these are going to be unlocks then like for future development and design, and basically like design to help you like in any job you take. Obviously computational design, it's like a huge discipline, and you will continue like after the program learning more or specializing in one field, like whatever it's like you're doing like afterwards, but you're going to have such a great base and such confidence to go into any of these like fields, right? Like, and that's the most important part, and that's where you're benefiting from watching the tutorials, actually doing the work, and having all this support system behind you, because I think that that's something unique to the program. Like, again, like all this number of like, educators that truly care about your progress and want to see you become the best, like, version of yourself and become super, super strong in what you're doing. And that's where we get super excited when we see people that, for instance, they come with like even zero knowledge on like, any 3D software. Like literally they might be coming from the fashion design industry, right? And just the background might be just Illustrator and Photoshop. And, here we are, like, like these people that might be like really like, they've proven themselves like to be amazing, like, if they're serious about the program. And others, again, that might know like some software, but then like killing it towards the end. So it's really about like how serious you are. But at the end of the day, it's 9 months of your life, like you dedicate yourself, and you have all the support you need, and you can really achieve like amazing results.
So Rose Vito is asking, how do you schedule the 2-week periods when you meet every day if you're a student who also works part-time or full-time? And that's, again, that's on you. I mean, that's really up to you to work out with your job, with your partner, with whatever group you end up in. I mean, really depends on you, and how you can work, that schedule.
Yeah, and don't forget that depends on where you are. It's a different time zone, right? Like we have 2 groups right now. One is starting at 6 a.m. Universal Central Time, and the other one at 2 p.m. Universal Central Time. Most probably we'll keep the time as it is, like for next year also, and this is where the start time is. So depending on the location in the world, that might not be, like 9 a.m. for everyone. So it, like you might fall into, like the one of the 2 groups that, like that might be an afternoon for you. So you have to, like, if you have a situation like that, like you can even like check in with us, like, put one-to-one, like, so we can like discuss like possibilities and stuff. But yeah, that's more or less like how we work with that.
So Alejandro's asking around how many hours a day of study the program requires. I mean, it's like a master's degree program, a full-time master's degree program. It's not a side thing. It's like, it's a full-time thing, in a very technical field. So the 2 weeks where you're meeting with the tutors, with the educators, the core lead educators of that chapter, that's like 4 hours a day. And those 4 hours are mostly about troubleshooting and critiquing your work. When you're not meeting with them in those 4 hours, you should be working with your partner and developing work for the next meeting. And then there's, before each chapter, there's the pre-recorded tutorials and education that you should be learning and watching. From our team side, there's about like 10 to 15 hours of tutorials just recorded from us. And then there's, extra intro stuff if you need it as well. So again, it's all like time management. I mean, and these guys here can tell you.
Yeah, I'm curious, how many hours did you guys like put in like daily? Now this question is a good one. it's a tough question, right?
Yeah, hi. I think we
Hi.
put countless hours. We didn't even count really. It was whenever we got free time, we were just doing this. So it really depends. You have to put in the hours. Yeah, definitely. But you can't put a time limit on it. It really depends on your design and other sort of variabilities and stuff. So yeah, just work hard.
It's design. I mean, I mean, again, it's like it's shorter than most master's programs, I would say. Like, and in 9 months, change your whole career and life. You can talk to these guys. I mean, Mohammed is also working with me at Wilder World. You know, it's just another level of thing that you can do, and it just really depends what you want to get out of it, you know. Are we going, Sebastian's asking, are we going to develop Grasshopper around us as plugins? You're going to learn C# coding. In terms of specifically developing a plugin, no, probably not, but you know, it's not really the goal of this. You know, this course is about design, not software development. But if you get into coding, it's not too hard to just make a Grasshopper plugin. I mean, it's just technical stuff. So. There's no Lupaz asking, can I apply federal student aid in the United States for tuition? FAFSA.
No, unfortunately
so.
not. We've checked. Unfortunately not, because the master's is accredited from basically university that it's part of, like, European Union, right, like Bulgaria. So it's not based in the US. That's why you can't unfortunately qualify for this specific loan. I think also, like, Nadia was answering one of the questions about like how many hours. Yeah, 4 hours of the session plus 4 hours of your own work with a partner per day. But again, like, the sessions are not every week, right? Like, so keep that in mind. Like, the weeks that the live sessions might be more intense than the others. So that's where, like, that plays a role, and that's why it's designed like that. So you have some weeks that you have more freedom and time, like, to, you know, like, watch the tutorials or prepare. You can spend more hours in one day or rather than other, or you can catch up more with work during these gray weeks, right? Like the weeks that are not with the sessions, but the one which actually have the sessions, plus you're expected to show progress for the next day, even if that's a small progress. It's that's going to be, like, you know, like, definitely more demanding on that side.
Well, Mohammed, you should switch to everyone and rewrite your comment, because it's only to us. And also, Alejandro, you should switch your chat to everyone, because you're also only writing to us. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, like Ali is saying, like, being a lover on call 12 hours a day. And we've heard that, like, with other teams too, but also, like, I think that, like, these teams, like, you know, like, they become friends too. Okay, so it's not just that they're working 12 hours a day, like, it's all the support system, and that's where, like, we really believe in the teamwork, and we really, like, you know, like, for us it's so important, because obviously, like, you know, you're in an environment that everyone supports you, but it's a different experience when you have a partner in that, right? Like, it's a different experience that, like, a lot of these guys are working together even, like, after the program, right? Or keeping contact, and that's also, like, something very valuable to build.
Okay, Nisha has a lot of questions. Firstly, do course collaborators play any role in career opportunities for students? Course collaborators, yeah, of course they do. For instance, you know, I you know, got some people with me at Wilder World. Pavlina got some people with her at Nike, and we have also other educators, you know, looking around to get students as well.
Yeah,
I don't
but
remember
also
exactly where everyone is, but also people that come to our reviews, hiring as well.
That's an important aspect also, like the reviewers, they're not primarily, they're not from academia, they're primarily like working individuals that are in position, hiring positions, and that's who we're trying to always like include in those you know, conversations, because we understand how important it is, like for like not just to gain the knowledge, but also have a platform to show, you know, like how much you're advancing and what you're able to do, and give you the platform for that. So that's something that we're actively, you know, like working on and trying to expand those relationships. And, you know, like we've sent like portfolios to like multiple different also different companies, like, and you know, like trying to always like help the students even after their graduation. So yeah, there are different kind of like places that people landed, Bombardier and others are, and IDAS. I think that like some of them also continued like with their education. So it really depends like on, again, like everyone's scope and ideas and where, you know, like they're landing.
Which process is more important in the application process, the essay or portfolio? Do we require an essay? No.
Yes, it's a short paragraph, just an introductory paragraph. I would say that like everything plays a role, right? Like there is no, you know, like a bigger weight on one thing or another. You just need to, you know, show interest and who you are. And I think that that's like the most important part of it.
Any prerequisites for coding? No, we don't have any prerequisite, like you don't have to know any of that stuff. None of these guys know that stuff. We set it up for you, or based on what we'll be using there. Obviously, I mean, you can take a 3 years class just on coding and you won't know all of coding, right? Like, you know, but the idea is to get you familiar with these tools and topics. Lastly, I know creative fields are cursed with a portfolio significance for employment, but how likely is a degree going to back up in career advancements in context to VR, AR fabrication? Well, I would say it's very likely, since our first year, over 50% of students are hired directly from our program. Some hired before they even finished the program because of reviews and our recommendations. It's very, you know, we're yeah, I mean, it's what we're teaching is relevant if you're interested in this kind of industry.
Hey Mike, maybe we can answer this question.
Go for it.
Yeah, because for example, my background was interior design and architecture, and I'm right now working as a 3D designer, as footwear 3D designer at Nike. So it's so different areas, but because of master's degree, that was my goal, to become a computational designer and switch a field. And just 9 months, and I had after 2 chapters, I had enough portfolio to land me a job at Nike. So it's just how you work with your portfolio and what is your goal is when you join the masters. So if the goal is like mine, to switch careers, for example, from architecture to VR, totally doable. Half of us change our profession because we entered as everything. Like we had a fashion designers, we have even musical DJ, we have, most of us was architects, but all of us go to the profession that we wanted to be, like 3D design, computational design, VR, movies. So it's, if you have certain goal, you can build your portfolio through these programs to land your goal.
I also would like to add about this one, because it's very important to think not only for this moment, like what you want to achieve now. Because without a degree, you could, you know, have a great portfolio, enter like a profession anywhere in an office that you would like to be now, but later in the years, like what's going on in 10 years, in 15 years. How are you growing with this career path? It's very important to have the degree. Also, if you decide at any point that you want to be in academia in your life, it's also very important. And usually, like when we are young, it's good if we manage to get our degrees done, so we have them later for any kind of situations, because this changes a lot during our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that like it's the also again like the scope of like having opened more doors to more industries, right, through computational design and having a specialty, because now for architecture is starting to become a standard that everyone knows Grasshopper at least, right, like going into different offices, and that's like a survival mode because again of the long hours, the difficulties, you know, like that you need to overcome as a designer and as an architect. But in fields outside of architecture, this is highly valued and actually like a very, you know, like a prestigious position that you could be. And that's where, you know, like you see, like, you know, like we're talking like a lot of us are like coming from architecture, but we switch to different industries exactly for this reason. We've done the hours, we've gone through the pain, and you know, like there is a lot of like, you know, difficulties that like, and they might not be like something that you want to do like in your daily life, like go through those struggles, and would like to change and have this opportunity like through this knowledge, right? Like, and being appreciated for what you bring to the table. Because fortunately or unfortunately, as you know, like time passes, exactly like things that like work-life balance and finances are starting to become more and more important.
Yeah, I mean, I like to look at it like, especially if you're working, like, I feel like if you're looking for something like this, then you're looking for like a change, right? So do you want to take 9 months and change your career for something you're interested in, or like just be stuck in the position you're at, right? Like I'm always in this opinion that we should all keep learning and advancing and going forward and staying with the times. That's just kind of my mentality about it. I mean, I've gone from working actually construction to architecture to product design to footwear design to now metaverse design. And I just, you know, keep, you know, switching what I want, and it takes these things, you just keep learning and keep advancing. And
it doesn't feel that hard, like so switching, right? Like it's like the same for me, like going from
with these tools,
education,
yeah,
architecture education, working on some product and vehicle design, like go in robotics, like again, like switching then like to footwear design. I don't even feel the change, like like I'm not working in architecture in a way, because again, the logic behind it and the tools and the you know, the concept and everything is, you know, like so similar. Like I don't even, you know, like feel that I'm in a different field. I don't know, like how you guys feel when, like, how, you know, like it is for you, like switching from architecture into something different. But
yeah,
that's something definitely for me.
Yeah, I think I would like to add to that is that this program is also designed to create this creative grit within yourself, that you're able to tackle any challenge, because basically you're going from a prosthesis human body to like a whole world that you're designing, and you're basically covering all aspects of design, so that once you approach design in your profession, like you're very confident and you're very able to approach design. So yeah,
I mean, that's Wilder, you know, like we're working on a metaverse, and Ava and Mohammed are two people that I got on our procedural generation team. And like 1 week we're hitting them with like, make these building generators, and then the next week we're like, okay, this week you're making vehicles for NFTs. And then, okay, this week you're making, what did we make? Like you're making satellites and antennas and trash cans and, you know, like, so it's, you know, every week is like a completely different thing, you know, and it's like, no one's like, oh, I never designed this thing before. It's just like, okay, I know the tools, I understand the style, this is what I need to do, you know, so it's definitely like an interesting, you know, the kind of computational procedural fields, you know, becoming a kind of industry in its own, you know. So,
but you know, like talking about the metaverse, I think that's a good you know, thing to also like ask you guys, like you know, like how important it is actually to understand and know generative design, like in order to design a metaverse, right? Like, because everyone would think that like you're just like going and building everything manually, but exactly like that's where you're creating whole new worlds and assets and NFTs and collections and things that like change, you know, drastically, like with like very big numbers. So how important is that? How does that work, and how does that aid your processes?
well, it was even with footwear, you know, when we're working at Nike, it's like the things you don't think about, like I have to work on, you know, I was working on all like the top sneaker design, like, you know, the LeBrons and Kyries and this, and you make this one awesome sneaker design, you're like, oh, this is awesome. But then you realize now you have to make that sneaker in like 30 something different sizes, right? And it's not just scaling, like you don't just scale a shoe, like foot sizes don't just scale uniformly, right? So it's like the options are manually design and make each thing, or develop a computational system that can adapt to, you know, the different, you know, sizes and shapes of foot, right? So these kind of constraints, you know, we're talking about, you know, just knowing from Nike, you know, they would do these at the factories. It would take them, I don't know, maybe 6 months to make all the shoe sizes per shoe. And then when computational design was introduced, we were talking about like, I don't know, 3 days, 2 days, something like that, right? So it's a big impact. I think we should get to some other questions. Are there examples of people who got work visas and moved to other countries through the masters?
Well, Alice, she moved to France from the US. I think that like some of the metaverse guys, they're still in their countries, but working internationally.
I think they're asking, we don't have any kind of visa thing for our program because it's online.
We don't offer like a visa, but that's something we're looking into actually. So Sveti, that's your cue.
We don't really offer like the, you know, regular visa process as the other university, as the program is online, but we could support you in that path, especially if it's about Europe, any country in Europe. It will be much easier.
Yeah, because like the university exists in the real world. So basically it's positioned in Sofia, Bulgaria. So if you're interested to, you know, like move also like to study there, because like obviously like Tung is in that, like in Cetelina are like based in Sofia. But we do have a space, we do have, you know, like a prototyping lab, and also like you could, you know, choose to do something like that if you feel that that's going to be also a path for you, and, you know, like easier to get or land a job in Europe, like afterwards. So, you know, like it is something that like we're willing to look into.
In general, it's very like a specific process to each country, but we could be very helpful also with this. If you contact us like specifically for your case. So
Raymond is asking, is this degree recognized with US academia, for example, as faculty in US university?
It is, but depends like what you're going for, because it's a Master of Science, it's not a Master of Architecture, right? Like, so that's just the only thing that like you need to like keep in mind. But it is fully recognized.
Yeah, it is fully recognized, and it could be very useful for the academia.
Yeah, that's an important thing to mention. It is not, we're not an architecture degree program, and our main focus isn't architecture, it's computational design, but it is a Master of Science degree, just as any Master of Science degree is. It's no different. That's why it's MSc. It's the same as every Master of Science degree program. It is that actual degree accredited.
Yeah. And I've been through the process personally because like as an alumni of the university, right, like I'm moving to London and then to the US, like, you know, like going through these processes of accreditations and, you know, like all this, you know, paperwork, like it works. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a common thing. Even
yeah.
even the AA is using, for instance,
The Open University is accreditation.
Open University is actually their accreditation. Like, you know, it's a common thing to partner and collab for accreditations.
Yeah.
Anastasia is asking, is it challenging to get accepted to this program? I'm interior visualizer, very simple apartments interior, working in 3D Max plus Corona, and have zero experience in designing futuristic stuff. I would say apply. I think we're very open to all kinds of people joining, as long as they meet the kind of basic legal requirements, which are like certain amounts of credits and whatnot, and types of degrees. But in terms of like judging, you know, your past experience in design, I feel like we're pretty open, as long as you're, you know, someone that's willing to kind of work hard and experience that. Like I think like Nadia mentioned, like we had last year, for instance, we had someone who she was a DJ primarily, and she did really well in the program. And so I mean, DJ has nothing to do with like this kind of stuff, but yeah. So yeah, I think it doesn't hurt to apply. I think everyone, you know, if you're interested, you should apply. It's not as lengthy as other applications are, and there's no fee, so you really don't have anything to lose, you know.
And
Yeah,
those
and that's
other students without any experience in designing futuristic stuff.
yeah, that's true. No, it's like it's new to almost everyone, to be honest, like from the different, like, because engineers, roboticists, architects, right, like it's still like, you know, like it's still a lot of learning, like you know, for everyone, anyone coming into the program, I think is going to like, you know, like learn a lot, no matter from which field, because it's just like designed to go through all these different experiences in different fields and different scales, and all through the lens of computational design. So it would challenge everyone. The good thing here is that, again, like through our experience in the past 9 years, because it was based on workshops that were, you know, like a week long or 2 weeks long. And like we were always accepting of everyone who was wanting to basically learn. That's where we've learned how to basically get people to these advanced levels, rather than expecting of them to be ready, you know, like to be in the program and like bringing all this knowledge in. What you need to bring is really passion and like about like what you do, and understanding that like this is something serious, and you know, like it takes at the end of the day exactly like 9 months that, you know, like are going to be useful for your career, no matter the path, because we're talking about change, right? And how, you know, like people mostly like come to the program because of that. But also, to be honest, as an architect, you know, like even a conventional office, like the difference of understanding computational design and not understanding, like that's also like a very, very big difference, like with the scale of operation, with the deadlines, with the multiple schemes that you need to, you know, like provide. Like it's a totally different game changer when you have a huge building and the, you know, like you have the steps, you know, like heights changing and the height of the building changing. Like how many times are you going to redesign that? Like if you have a script, you know, like it happens in seconds. So it's not just the design, you know, like portion of it. It's not just the portion of like enabling you to have like different design experiences, but it's also saving you time, and it's going to also set you apart from your peers, even if you are in the conventional, like, you know, like a design profession or an architectural profession. I could have survived without it, guys, like as an architectural professional. I wouldn't. I would have slept there like forever. No need to rent a flat. Literally. That's what was the difference, really.
Yeah. Alejandro was asking, are Fusion 360 and Alias taught at any point? We don't use Fusion 360 or Alias. They're more, I mean, those programs are more in like the engineering kind of side of things. We're more focused in the design side of things. So yeah, we don't have those in there. They're just not, you know, required for the kind of what we're looking for in the kind of careers and positions where we're focused on. So I just wanted to answer that one real quick. Let's see. How is this program different curriculum-wise than a full-time university program? Well, it is a full-time university program. The way we structure it is by the chapters that Paulina talked about. And basically, what the entire master's program is fully connected start to finish. And you're basically working through a kind of gradient of different industries and design types while using kind of computational design thinking and method and tools. So it starts kind of inward out situation where in the first chapter is looking more about the human body, character and fashion. The second chapter moves into kind of dwelling and furniture and product scale. Then the third chapter looks at different types of things at more of the neighborhood scale. Then the fourth chapter looks at things in the vehicular and transportation scale. And then the fifth chapter looks at things in the kind of master planning scale. But the entire thing is connected as basically a story from beginning to end. And what you end up with at the end is this kind of little world and narrative that you've created, which consists of beings, vehicles, houses, vehicles, networks, you know, and a bunch of other things throughout, basically.
I would like to add to Mike's that the program is at the same time very structured because there is chapters and certain things that you need to execute, but at the same time you follow your design vision, your design aesthetic, philosophy, your own story. So it's not like today we're doing building and after that we do unrelated thing.
Yeah.
It's all connected. It's the whole system, and the best part of it that it's so holistic and all together. So in our first year, we literally felt like we have 20 sci-fi movies ready at the end, because it was so rich storytelling, and from prosthesis to the cosmogony, it was the whole world that you literally have a Hollywood blockbuster level sci-fi at the end.
Yeah.
And it's all designed through different software, through different programs, techniques, and everything. So it's amazing visuals, amazing story, and you did all that. So you know all this stuff at the end. So that's insane. So that's my favorite part of the program, that it's so cohesive and give opportunity to express yourself like you never even thought you can express yourself.
Yeah, I think a lot of our viewers, every time they come, they're always kind of impressed about how different each project is. That's like one thing that we always get told, is that like from one project to the next is so different, because we, I think a lot of university program, they do like one or two things. Like they either stick like directly to the book in computational design, where it's like you're making the same kind of shell structures, or like these kind of structure pavilion things that are kind of like by the book, or you're kind of making things in the style of a certain professor that you have, and then like all the work of that class looks exactly the same. Like all the work looks the same in that class. Our take on it is we spend the first lab, which is called what was it called in the first year? Now it's the concept lab, but I think
Theory, it's called.
it was a theory. Now it's called the concept lab. So the first like 2-3 weeks is 100% building the story and finding out like what direction you want to go to, what's the narrative, what are the languages, so these are the kind of things that we let the teams develop. We don't try to push specific languages like that. We want your kind of unique identity and interests to come through. And that's why kind of every project computationally designed in the end, but looks completely different. And that's kind of like the take that we have on it.
Yeah, it's not replicating anyone else's style. It's about you finding your own voice, your own style, like design, representation. Like it's a lot of exactly like self-expression. And that's the value, right? Like, because like at the end of the day, like you need to be your own designer for yourself, not for somebody else. Because what's the point? Like, like when you work in a firm, for instance, like, in a conventional way, you might be like following a lead, right? Like on like how this design looks. Like that's a place like to learn and for you to express yourself and become like a strong designer. And that means that you need to have the room to have an opinion, to have a different way, like even to tell the story, like even the ways that like the students are presenting their work, it's very different, from a different approach, from a different voice, from a different angle. And like we're trying to support that and really like help them like even more and push them even more to be more expressive and different from each other. We're pushing them, literally everyone, to be different and like themselves. And like that's where we see the value, like not for like a unifying under like one design language. There is no is a design master in the program, or like you're the master, you're the lead of your own designs, and you have the full freedom to do that.
Yeah, we just try to guide you in that and make it the best it can be. I know I personally find it like very boring, and I'm sure you've all seen it, where like you see a review of a class and like literally 20 projects that look exactly the same style as the person teaching the class. It's like, I think this is like the common thing in a lot of architecture degree programs, and just when we were making this program, we were just thinking like, if that's what you learn from your master's degree, like what are you going to be able to do afterwards as a career? Like what are your options just to work under that professor if hopefully they're working and not just teaching? So we want people to become their own designers and have their own opinions and their own styles and thoughts about things, because when you get out there in the real world in careers, as some of you may know, some of you may not know, but like things will depend on you making decisions and being creative. Hopefully, if you're in the right kind of job, so that's kind of like where we wanted to bring this program when we were making it, that we wouldn't say like we're all going to do the same thing, then we're all going to do the same thing again for next chapter and next chapter, next chapters.
But also that's the other like aspect of it, like the portfolio wise, right? Like the richness of like the portfolio you're getting, even if you're not like, like proud of what you already like build, like you can build like a full portfolio with like 5 different, you know, like scales and different, like it's like a full portfolio you can build. But the other aspect of it is because it's your own design and your own language, it's highly appreciated from the industry. And that's what we see, like with almost like all our students that are coming back and saying the same thing, like that, you know, people reviewing their portfolios and their work, they're very impressed with it. And it's exactly for this reason, because they are looking for this unique voice, and they are impressed, like, to see that uniqueness, like, you know, coming through. And it's the same thing, like for me personally, like as a hiring manager, right? Like looking into like, you know, portfolios, like I want to see that, because then I know that this person is, you know, like invested and, you know, like loves what they're doing and can express themselves like through the design medium.
Yeah, there was even people go into more education after our program, and it helps them get there as well. We have his name slipped my mind, that just messaged us the other day. Probably not.
Shinue?
No, for the applied arts in Vienna.
Angewandte. Yes,
Asim,
that's
Asim.
awesome. Yes.
Asim. Yes.
Essen, yeah. So he just got into there, and they have like the lowest acceptance rate of like any school, because they're completely free. And he just got into there with a portfolio of just work from our program, basically. And he messaged us and he was thanking us so much, because it's a really difficult school to get into, and he wanted to do even more education. And yeah, it's I mean, I'm sure if any of you architects there, you know, the school, I don't know, I think it has like, I don't know, 5 or 10% acceptance rate or some crazy thing like that, because if you get in, it's completely free. And then also Shinui, yeah, she got into, which program is she in?
UCL, I think.
Yeah, for like material research or something, I think.
Performance, some kind of like performance arts.
Yeah, these are both students from our first year. She was also writing us and thanking us, and so it's nice to see that it's working in that aspect too, helping people get even to more education that they want to go to afterwards. Let's see. Arjun's asking, also, since I'm architect background, can this program be customized with electives or specific topics that I can take advantage of as per background, or is it general for everyone regardless of career interest or professional background? I think we just talked about that, but you know, just to quickly reiterate, basically there's 5 chapters, and those chapters are about the scale and types of things, but the narrative and the languages and all these things are based on you and your team. So there is a framework, but we don't like lock you into specific way to do things or style of things. I think that's just a quick summary of kind of what we've been talking about.
I also want to maybe like we can move into the next you know, like the next portion of like the presentations, and we can have more Q&As towards the end, also like with our students like from this year. But also like I wanted to ask you know, like our alumni, what basically like maybe like surprised you like coming into the program, and then like, you know, like afterwards, like what's something that like, you know, it was a pleasant surprise for you, or, you know, like how did that go for you? Because you were in the first year also, right? So there wasn't as much information like about like obviously like on the website, and we had one-to-ones, but I think that like it was a big like step for you and big leap, you know, like of trust, like to go into something like totally new.
Yeah, I think for me, if I answer first, I had my family and they had the most doubts about the program because nobody ever heard of it. Usually when people apply, it's to the UK, to the US, to all these Ivy League universities. And I just saw the value in how the program was structured and the people that were involved in it. And I had no doubt like how amazing this program would be. So it was, the second surprise was that it's structured so well that you don't, I said this before when I was a student, I was in the open day, and I'm going to say it again, that you really don't feel like it's online. It's amazing. Everything is so structured, it's seamless, and you get to learn a lot. Basically, it's just you learning and implementing design and just pushing the limits. So yeah.
And by the way, I just want to mention that recently Mohammed is getting creeped on by side effects. They're like liking his work and resharing it. Side effects they make Houdini, if you don't know. So thought that was cool.
That is cool.
Anyone else?
So when I saw first time the Instagram post probably about that there will be a design master's degree, I has no doubt to join. Also, it was during pandemic, so for me it was chance to learn computational design, because as I said previously, I wanted to change career, but doing webinars is not enough, because if you're working and trying to do something, it's like when you learn by yourself, it's just, you can do that if you're passionate enough, but probably, but it takes more time. So when I saw this program, I thought, this is it. It's just 9 months. It's not 2 years or 3 like other regular masters. It's just 9 months. And after that, I can do what I wanted to do. So, and this is why I joined. And my expectation was, I don't know, 150%. So more than I expected, because for me it was like very practical goal. I need to switch gears as fast as possible. But at the same time, I found my design voice. I found how to say, so I feel very much that I'm on my own place. That's very rare thing, because you know what you want to do at the end. Yeah,
I think I have that kind of similar mentality. It's like we all have such limited time. Like, let's just get where we're going already, you know, like just get there, you know, like and I hear that you're doing very, very good things at Nike. So I hear the rumors around. So.
So yeah, if you want a shortcut, DesignMorphine program definitely is, but it will be a hard-working shortcut.
Eva, for you that you are also teaching in the program and working, like how does that manifesting, like after the program, how are you handling it? Like how did the skills like even like, you know, like grow, and how that worked for you?
By the way, in the program, Ava was known as a machine from like everybody. So.
Because she was a team of her own, so she was like creating so much. Yeah,
I think that's why you both hired me.
Yeah, that is funny.
Honestly, this was a very sweet and a very surprising experience for me. And I wouldn't lie, like I was doubtful about the program, because at that time I was like more concerned about applying to UK or US. But at that time I graduated during pandemic, so eventually those programs were even online. So I was like, why pay so much and like go and do the same course online, and why not try this? It's just a 9 months experience. Maybe I would go for a second degree. But honestly, at this point, there is no thought for a second degree for me, at least, because getting so much of experience, so much of rich experience from all of you guys. And I always say the support that we get from here is like, there is no match, actually, no match to any university or any tutors, that support that we get from here. I mean, even so many of us like Alub, Anthony, Pedro, they got these opportunities to teach as well in the webinars and all that stuff. So it's just like so like a family here that you are connected. It's not just professional that you are here. So I mean, this is some sweet experience that unexpectedly landed, and I'm really grateful that it happened even after all the doubts that I had.
That's true. I think you can expect in our program to get a lot of attention. Like you won't feel like your tutors just disappeared on you and won't do anything to help you. I think you'll get a lot of attention.
Yeah, you can ask the same question to 10,000 different people, like, you know. But yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much, Eva, for the kind words. Yes, that is funny that like you're like in both worlds simultaneously, but I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Pedro,
Yeah.
you were like, sorry.
I just want to also add that we also have very supportive core leads. I mean, not for me, I mean, but when I was a student, we had Tung and we had Ada. So that's a support that's carried with you like 24 hours. So you don't feel isolated that, okay, this is an online program or your partner is not cooperative. They are just like throughout with you.
Yeah. Pedro, you're on the technical side this year, but also like you've done so much like with Moonray, Luzor, like all these like different things, like teaching now the Harvard workshop, like a lot of like on the educational side also. I saw that you also.
By the way, I recently learned that Pedro like started Houdini in the program. I thought you knew it before.
Yeah, more or less, yeah. I mean, I was aware about Houdini even before the master, but I didn't have the opportunity to use it, actually. So yeah, basically I started using Houdini. Yeah, so I started using it in the master.
But Pedro, just for a context, so we're talking that like Pedro basically like didn't know Houdini before coming into the program. And 1 year later, he's teaching, yes, he's teaching basically Houdini for like our Harvard collaboration. Like that's a, you know, that's a big deal with 300 people and more like on the webinar. And like, that's one of the biggest collaborations that we have for 7 years now with, you know, with DesignMorphine. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, I actually don't sleep. Yeah, it's true. But the funny thing about this master is when I knew about this master program, I was more or less aware. I was really confident about this program because I more or less knew most of the tutors' work. Even I had the opportunity to read Paulina's master, even before joining the master. So I was quite aware about almost anyone on this master. That's why I was really confident to apply here. And actually, it was the only master I applied, by the way. I was really confident about this master. And during the master, No, I
was gonna say, like you're saying, like all the people, like they're well-known people in the industry.
Sure,
like,
exactly.
They're not like just these random people. You know?
So when I started working, when I started studying the master, I was already working at the university, not full time, but I was working there. And during the master, at the middle, I think I had the opportunity to work in Moonray part time, and at the end of the master, I started working in a Spanish company doing metaverse things. So there were a point I was working in three places, more or less. And keep in mind that I also run my own company. So yeah, there were a point in the master that was quite hard. But you can do it if you can organize yourself. It's possible. And probably you want to sleep, but you can do it. It's possible.
Probably.
It's possible.
I just love like, okay, so now we know that there were like students with 4 jobs doing the masters. Oh, you guys.
I mean, I don't consider my own company as a job, but we may say that.
Well, thank you for sharing, Pedro. So also like you grew up with DesignMorphine like throughout like your architectural knowledge. It wasn't through the masters, but it was like with the DesignMorphine workshops. So I'm curious to hear a little bit like from your perspective. You're now for the 2nd year with us like as a core lead.
Yeah, you said that I started actually in my 1st year, not the 2nd year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was drawing by hand back then, and then was introduced to like computational thinking. It was yeah, something pretty special. And since then, it's just become a part of where like I teach, I learn, and I do stuff. So it's been a great experience, and yeah, I'm looking forward for more for next year and maybe like even more. We're as core leads, we have our emotional support, not only software, not only like designs, but yeah, we're basically never alone because we're always there like asking questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Tung. And yeah, definitely, like that's, you know, like Tung is so much appreciated from the university, from the UACG. He's also teaching there as an assistant. Like he's really like done amazing work, and like he's really progressing very fast. Although like he's actually like just graduated last year with his master's degree, like from the university as an architect. So again, like the computational design thinking, I think that like it's, and he's obviously like passion for it and serious work, as it has been setting him apart, and he has been teaching his peers for many years now. Well,
Yeah,
thank you so much, guys.
No, that's it. Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys, for sharing like some of your perspective and your experiences. We're so much appreciated. We're so excited to, you know, like be in touch with you, and like, you know, like just seeing like how you progress and how you learn. And we're very excited for new things to come. But definitely it's an amazing experience, like to be part of this. It has been really, you know, like a dream come true, like for DesignMorphine, to be able to support in that way, to grow the community and to, you know, grow together perpetually. And I think that that's something that, like, again, like personally has been one of the most important things for me, like in the past 9 years, being able to stay connected with such amazing like-minded individuals. And to be honest, wherever you go in the world, like I personally never feel alone, because there is somebody like from our community there, and that you know, like we can always connect with and have so much in common. So it's a path, it's a growth path together, so it means a lot.
Before we move on, there's 3 more questions, and I think I can answer them pretty quickly.
Okay.
So Sim was asking, during presentation, we saw a visual about Reno car project. Is there a collaboration with the car brand or company for those who want to specialize in the automotive industry? We don't have any specific collaboration lined up, but we're always getting new collabs. We have, for instance, one with Logitech coming up, but we do have affiliation with like some pretty top car people, vehicles people. Our 4th chapter, Kinesis, is vehicular based, and for instance, in the first year, we had the lead designer of Rolls-Royce on the review, and we have a few other automobile vehicle people in mind for the next reviews. So we are connected and getting more connected also with that industry. So hope that answers that question.
That's definitely, again, like as we said, that this is the first year, the second year that we're like with right now, and that's one of our primary goals. And we're like under, you know, like working on new things that are hopefully going to be coming up in a year or two, like but also at the same time like collaborations, right? Like, so we are you know, like in the works of like you know, like pushing like some really exciting collaborations like coming up. So that unfortunately I can't share right now, like other than the Logitech one, but I think that that's where we're like really like connecting with people, and we see the value and we see the excitement like from all sides, and that's where like more and more people were interested. That's where the like we got invited to Microsoft Garage, like to work with them, like this past November, and this collaboration is going to continue. So you know, like these collaborations, again, they're in the heart of DesignMorphine. It's not just the master itself, it's the community. So definitely as we move forward, I'm sure that there are going to be even more amazing things coming our way.
Didn't we have also the guy from Ferrari?
Yes.
He was on the review as well, right? From Ferrari, yeah.
We
So we
also
have Ferrari.
collaboration with Infarina that's going for second year. So
Oh yeah, Pininfarina. How can I forget them too? Yeah. So yeah, if you don't know Pininfarina, they basically manufacture all the stuff for like Lamborghini and stuff like that. So
Ferrari, like started
Ferrari.
from them also. And then they have an architecture department too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
they're based both in Italy and US. So it's a huge.
yeah.
What is the fee deadline for the program? It's on the website, an application form. If you want to say it again real quick, probably not. Just quickly say the dates.
1st of February, it's early application. 1st of April, it's a scholarship application, and 1st of I think it's June. Like it's the late application. But you can see it there. Like it's 3 different like options there. Obviously, the earlier, the better, because like it gives you enough time like to get, you know, like to hear back, like to go through the process, see like what kind of documentation you need, see like what your specific like situation is, so we can review it. And also like it's better financially, obviously, because like you have a discount for early application, and then like obviously like if you are interested in a scholarship, you should definitely apply by the 1st of April. That's the deadline. So after that, like it's not going to be able like to have any applications for that. So that's, you know, like more or less like the situation like with the applications.
Then anonymous attendee is asking, is there any possibility to register without bachelor's degree? I'm currently finishing my bachelor's and have 136 credits so far. I'm interested to start the master's program while finishing my bachelor's.
We have these situations too, but I think that like actually with bachelor's degree, you need to have it already. You need to have the document. You can do that while doing another master's, so that we have students like that. But I think for bachelor's, you will need to have the diploma.
But again, it's good to apply so we could review the specific case and see when exactly you are graduating. Maybe you will be able to do it.
That's another one. Yes. So basically, guys, like a rule of thumb, apply if you're interested. See the process, let us review the documents, because many times just through a question like that, there might be something that we can't possibly foresee. So, and that has been a lot of times. It's like even like students don't send like all their documentation, or, you know, so just make sure you just send all the information you need, and we'll review and let you know about your particular case and work from there. As we said, there is no fee for the application, so better go for it to know where you stand.
Yeah. So that's it for the questions for now. We can take more questions later. So if you still have questions, if you think of something while there's presentations, just type them there so we can get to them after.
I saw one or two questions in the chat, like this one. I'm a little bit concerned that there would be enough communication between each other and tutors. How does it work on this program? How study groups are created by level or skills or randomly?
How, what is created? Trying to find it.
Like the question is basically if the communication between the tutors and the students is, it's how does it work? And also how are the groups created?
Yeah, I answered that one earlier, but I can answer again. So groups are created by a few factors, time zone,
interests,
interests,
there's a questionnaire, and all that stuff.
The work samples, all this kind of factors into how we make the groups. Communication is all through Teams. Teams has you know, text chats, the channels we have, video chats, all that stuff. And then the work is you know, between you and your team member. it's between you to how you decide and when you decide to communicate and work. All of these guys here can tell you that most of the work is like through Teams chats, Teams video, and with the tutors, with the cores, like you'll have specific times to meet, but also people are freely available, and someone is always in like the teams chats and all that. So
especially especially because the team is very international, so everyone is like a different point in the world, so somebody is awake at some point, so that's why it turns out to be like a 24/7 like support, like if you have like any specific questions. But also, like as Mike mentioned, Teams is very intuitive. It has chats, it has like video calls, it has all that, so it's very, very easy to use. Okay, so let's move forward to the presentations, because we're a little bit behind on schedule on that. And then we'll have more time. We'll stay here with you guys and answer more questions. Just write them down. And we'll continue the conversation afterwards. It's not an end to the Q&A, just, we'll see like some really amazing presentations that I can't wait for the students to share with you. And also like it's going to be an open conversation with them, so they can share with you like how they're feeling this year, right? Like and how they're going through it and how they're feeling as they're going through it. So let's start like with our first team with Kongnop Morten sorry, Kongnop. It's a tough surname. Morn Batara Singh, and then Cheung Kleung.
Yeah, and before they start, I just want to remind.
Just call me Ryan. Okay. Okay, Ryan. Thank you.
I just want to remind everyone on our YouTube is all of our past masters presentations, even the recent two from our current year. So I'll check that out. So.
We'd like to welcome you all to our world of contradictory symbiosis here.
Yes. So in this world, in this post-apocalyptic world with insufficient resources and human extinction crisis, the Cyborg Republic invites humans to transcend into cyborgs. However, to embrace the total rationality of cyborgs, humans need to eliminate their emotions. In order to persuade humans into becoming emotionless, the Republic spreads propaganda in human society, brainwashing those from the lower class into believing that they can experience eternal happiness by becoming a cyborg. In reality, their brains and bodies are stimulated constantly by the prosthesis. The chemicals produced by the brain will be collected for agricultural use. Their emotional capabilities are built to the point that they can no longer produce any more chemical substances in their brains. They are now cyborgs working as labor forces to restore nature until their organic body decay. The Republic produces and exports food and natural resources back to the human society, just enough to keep them alive, but not enough for them to overpopulate. As long as there are humans who live miserable lives out of poverty and hunger, there will be new volunteers to join the Cyborg Republic and keep the system running. This is an ironic narrative suggesting that a sustainable and peaceful ecosystem could only be done by eliminating the presence of humans from humans themselves. And the story begins in a place called Euphoria.
In order to bring eternal balance to the system, it requires the synergy between the living and the non-living in a comparable amount. Unlike any other form of architecture found in human society, Euphoria isn't designed as a machine to serve inhabitants, but the inhabitants themselves actually serve as an organic system that drives the mechanical system. Both systems are designed to work together in the form of symbiosis relationship in order to facilitate the overall system. In order for the human to mutate into cyborgs, the volunteer will be equipped with the processes. The processes has two main systems, the organic system and the mechanical system. Both will work together to form the perfect processes that supports the cyborg's life throughout different stages. The mechanical layer functions as an exoskeleton that enhances the physicalities of the user and also provide a solid protection for the organic layer underneath. Meanwhile, the organic layers functions as an energy storage system, where the emotion of the user will be collected inside the emotion cell that will sprout out from the synthetic skin. The first series of mechanical processes, including the helmet, the spine, and the torso part, will be equipped to a newcomer with plenty of emotion called Libero. Libero can use their happiness to purchase more processes to achieve even more pleasure in this delusional fantasy, up until the point they are fully equipped, and eventually transform into the next stage known by the name of Felicita. In this stage, they will be able to reach their eternal happiness for several weeks before they run out of emotion and fully transform into a pure cyborg titled by the name of Asceso. Asceso is a transcendent form of humans where they surpass human physicality and intelligence, but more importantly, they are able to eliminate the ultimate restraint of human beings, their emotions. These three different types of cyborgs coexist in different sub-areas inside Euphoria, the corpuscle of the Republic, where each particular unit functions as a living cells that collect infinite amounts of emotion from the inhabitants, processes them in the form of resources, and feed them back to both the central system and human society.
A single unit of a corpuscle is composed of spaces with four main usages. Each space is designed to perform specific functions which are compatible with certain types of cyborgs. Let's begin with the Pleasure Dome, an enclosed psychedelic-built environment specifically designed to maintain the ecstatic condition of Libero and Felicita. Under this dome, they will be constantly stimulated by the psychoactive fog released from the diffuser and the massaging chairs that produces high intensity of ecstasy, which can't be maintained by the prosthesis itself. The sensors integrated into the lighting systems monitor the status of the environment and the states of the cyborgs for fog concentration control. There are a total of 7 domes in each corpuscle. Each of them offer different psychedelic experiences in various intensities. The cyborgs are able to earn more prostheses and use them as a tickets to access higher levels of domes. During the nighttime, they will all head down towards the charging station through an elevating platform to recharge their batteries, but more importantly, to feed their energy to the system through the connection between their spine and the charger. This area also serves as the prosthesis equipping area for those who purchase an upgrade.
Down below the charging station is the research center, the intelligence unit of the corpuscle, and the major workspace of Asceso, the emotionless cyborgs working non-stop for the Republic. The energy collected from Libero and Felicita will be directly transferred through the pipeline and stored inside the emotion cells that sprout out from the organic veins. Later, these emotions will be used to develop new forms of stimuli and agricultural resources with the assistance of the sensors, which keep track of and control both humidity and lighting conditions. Finally, all of these micro-units are interconnected together with a mechanical frame. The frame was designed to support both structural and logistic aspects of the corpuscles. The hallway leads Asceso to different areas, and the rail system transfers Libero and Felicita to different domes while they are asleep. The internal layer of the frame consists of multiple pipeline systems for energy and resources distribution within the corpuscle. Multiple corpuscles can be interconnected using the connected nodes and receptors. Ultimately, all of these spaces will interactively work together, not as a separated system, but cohesively and efficiently integrated together to form a perfect synergy throughout the corpuscle.
Euphoria is a blueprint for the creation of an ideal ecosystem. Not only is it designed to support the different aspects of living in this ecosystem, but it also demonstrates an ideal concept of sustainability and fair exchanges between multiple entities. The organic system couldn't mutate independently without the assistance of the mechanical system, while the mechanical system is functionless without the emotions collected by the organic system. These two complex systems of contradicting fundamentals complementing each other, greatly echoes with the ideology of contradictory symbiosis which, we, the Republic, strongly believes in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Loving your work, like super exciting. These are, like, as I mentioned, guys, like the first chapters, like of now, like where we are with the program. So more to come as time passes by. We're in chapter 3, so super excited to see like what you guys have in store for us for the next chapter. But yeah, unique project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
We'll go into now like the next presentation, which is with Ekaterina Borisenko and Oscar Olson. Thank you guys for joining us today. Excited to see like your presentation.
Very much excited. Yeah. So as I said, my name is Oscar. I live in Switzerland.
Hi, I'm Kate. I'm from Russia.
Cool. Yeah, and this is our presentation, project called Angenome. So let's welcome you all into our flourishing world. Our story is happening on the very same Earth as you are on right now. In the search for an alternative energy source, we made a discovery, a new genus of plants, now known to us as symbiophytes, that grow directly in connection with the human body. The symbiophytes attach and grow from humans once we pass on, enable incredible structures to be built. This discovery ushered in an era of wonderful coexistence between us and the symbiophytes.
Maybe it's time for us to present ourselves. We are bioengineers, or as we are often called, the rooters. Because we work within the root systems, our task is to understand the genetic coupling between the symbiophytes and the humans. We also conduct experiments to try and improve or modify the symbiophytes. Today, we will be familiarizing you with the Angenome project, the prosthesis and the corpuscle. Once we found the symbiophytes, we started working on the symbiotic connection between us and them, and developing our habitat around them. We experiment with multiple different ways of merging mechanical structures with a living organism. In the end, it always seemed to have a will of its own.
Our latest prosthetic accomplishment is the Gen 8 prosthesis. With this most recent experiments, we have managed to almost perfectly stabilize the symbiosis. At its core, the body is supported by the root system, with a bioengineered lymphatic system and prosthetic respiratory system. To ensure biocompatibility, we have developed lymphatic skull implants, which plug directly into the cervical lymph nodes. We have implemented further lung extensions to help with the frost stage, which lie deflated during the summer, while the symbiophyte is providing energy through photosynthesis. All these improvements have granted us a plethora of advantages over the previous iteration of the Angenome project. The body is now a self-sustaining unit, which no longer decays or grows out of control. But this is not all.
In winter, the whole prosthesis gets more fragile. The lymphatic and respiratory systems start playing a leading role. By means of its bionic implants, Gen 8 can breathe even in the harshest temperatures. Its lungs inflate, which causes steam to emit as a side effect of implant-assisted respiration, freezing on the rest of the prosthesis. Hence, the roots are covered with frost and icicles. Like the summer stage, winter one has relevant layers: bionic implants that function as primary respiratory system in winter, lymphatic layer that provides higher immune capacity, root layer as the core of the structure, spine roots, and shards that function as communicator with the environment. All in all, this latest upgrade grants ultimate adaptation and autonomy to the Gen 8, even in the frost stage, when it loses the ability to breathe through photosynthesis. Despite the frost covering the entire prosthesis, it continues to function, and climatic fluctuations do not interrupt the mission.
Our work on habitats led us to 2 units composing the corpuscle. Firstly, the L units, spaces designed for living, and the laboratories where we conduct research experiments. The unit is built of a combination of multiple layers, each taking on necessary functions: a concrete shell for living, the mechanical framework, assuming critical functions, a system of roots and vegetation, the living organism. Finally, our laboratories, where we conduct research on the genome of the symbiophytes. These inflated glass nodes are held in and bound by the symbiophyte structure.
Next, we have what we call the E-core, made up of the hardware layer, energy nodes for emergency power situations, grab symbiophytes, the power lines that corpuscle, finally the transmutation elder, where passed on rooters and symbiophyte join inseparably, transmuting into the core of the E unit, an energy source and a ritual space where the rooters are remembered. The corpuscle also features an adaptable facade. With the feedback from the monitoring of the environment, be it sunlight, humidity, or heat, the facade can be altered to keep the habitat healthy. There are a full set of openings positions ranging from completely closed to fully opened.
Here you can see exactly how the corpuscle is structured. Our living spaces are set inside the Symbiofy roots, with numerous passages that vector our ways to laboratories in the glass nodes. Roots and vegetation enable growth of the units and monitor its health. These are our labs. We rooters spend most of our time here, inside, where we have access to all the facilities we need for research and experiments. This is our interior common space. It's our off-duty venue, and it's completely adaptable. The facade can be adjusted to keep the root structure and the inhabitants healthy, mostly through exposure to sun and air baths.
To keep this symbiosis stable, we are constantly working and improving on our developments. We keep testing and monitoring the compatibility between the antigen symbiophytes and the bee implants of our prosthesis. As you can see, our habitat and environment are flourishing due to their complete symbiosis. We are regrowing the world in an era of wonderful coexistence between us and the symbiophytes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Wonderful to see this presentation again. Super excited for the next steps to come. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
We'll have some more time to chat at the end and answer more questions. But yes, we'll move forward now with Anya Capos and Nader Al-Bahaz.
All right, hello.
Hello, everybody.
All right. Hi, my name is Anya Capos, and my background is fashion design.
Hi, my name is Nader Al-Bahaz, and my background is also fashion forward design.
And this is Cerulean.
The answer to human survival is not out there. It is here on Earth, water. As we built equipment to travel off-world for supplies, our world slowly deteriorated below. It is too late to search for answers among the other planets, forcing humanity to travel inwards to depths unknown. Hope, however, has been found, for a new mysterious crystal holds the answer to the future of humanity. With its ability to deliver highly efficient energy systems and power the whole world's needs, a new civilization is able to rise and recover from the ashes.
There's just one catch. The mineral only works underwater. Humanity mutates and changes rapidly with the crystal's energy as an accelerant. They adapt for underwater survival. Each and every part of the human body goes through changes. The dilated thoracic cavity expands to allow for larger volume for oxygen retention and respiration.
The epidermis, or the skin, now has larger density, which maximizes flexibility and also camouflage within the water.
And the organs become an interdependent system where they control the allocation of bodily energies and perform with hyper-efficient consumption.
The neural capacity expanded so that humanity now has the ability to change color and body surface roughness instantaneously. As well as this, the legs have mutated into one system that now uses biopressurized nodes that expel water, excess water, that allows for a prosthesis to move faster in the water.
The spine is also now depressurized, allowing for extreme flexibility and rotation in the underwater currents.
The forelimbs mutated for easy water traversal, sort of like the tail system, for easy access and use and power within the being.
These new inhabitants of this underwater world have only just begun. They'll face many challenges as the climate is so different from above. The civilization adapts using the deep ocean floor now as its celestial sky, a vision to explore and establish the previously unknown.
The new generation of humans have created a housing structure to suit their needs. These structures create a new network of cities underwater that each rely on each other.
Apologies. Buffering a moment.
The crystal's energy powers everything in this new network. It creates bioluminescent lighting, energy to regenerate and restore health for the beings, and creates a neural network of systems that the beings use to communicate and control.
Each new section of the structure serves a purpose in aiding the beings' continued lives and developments in this new environment. The external protective layer protects against threats and provides clean water flow between the pods, utilizing a tube system.
Within the three-chamber system, each pod serves many different purposes, which allow for societal growth and connectivity for the beings. Having to adapt to this new lifestyle is important for the beings to feel unified, safe underwater, and to lead fulfilling lives. Everything in this being's living space has a purpose to do for them. The upper pod houses the regenerative beings' relaxation space and personal space, which allows for them to live longer and more sustained lives.
The protective bubble windows create emissive nighttime visibility and protect against unknown sea creatures that are lurking at these depths.
The lower pod's main purpose is to function as a meeting and lounge space for the beings to come and connect to each other. The adaptive natural floor lighting here in the upper pod allows for and expands and retracts based off the emotional intensity and feelings of the inhabitants that are situated within it.
The central pod is the brain of the structure. It houses the neural network which controls the internal environment instantaneously and adaptively through motion, responsive texturing, and color. The remaining inhabitants of this new world use the crystals to power their subaquatic equipment to face their new challenges, such as water purification, power harnessing, travel between cities from high pressure to low, and much more. This system connects the beings using their newly expanded neural capacity for communication, as well as being a device that the beings can use to control their overall space.
The regenerative pod uses the crystal's powers to further extend the beings' lives by restoring damages sustained to them at a cellular level. And as the civilization grows and continues to persevere, the cities and the connections will change and adapt for further challenges and lifestyle changes.
Thank you for joining us, and we can't wait to further explore the depths of cerulean.
Thank you, guys. Super exciting project as well. We're excited to see to explore the depths of Silurium with you. Thank you. So now we have our last group for the day, Kate Reed and Michael David Engel. Thank you guys for joining us.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, and can you see this?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, I'm ready.
Over thousands of years, a callous exterior has formed over a pocket of energy in a galaxy far away, creating a barren planet. This planet is largely uninhabited, yet it exudes energy across its landscape.
Feeding off the energy of the planet are 4 individual roaming mothers, each a migrating intertwinement of entire ecosystems. These mothers embody a living system at all scales, with each individual as merely a fraction of a connected whole.
Desert Mother is dry and bony, the architecture is callous, and is remnants of creatures of the past. The creatures are like mites and crustaceans across the surface, nuzzling in between dust and air.
The Water Mother, light and airy, with a sense of gravity different than our own. This ecosystem is filled with vascular, bubbly tubes, with bulbous, slimy creatures meandering within.
The Arctic Mother is a cold, icy ecosystem where the architecture is callous. The creatures are giant and slow, conserving warmth and energy for her. In this ecosystem, the offspring are more nurturing than the mother herself.
The Forest Mother exists between forest treetops. We view it both above and below the canopy level, and the creatures here crawl and hop.
Roaming between the utopic mothers exist 2 keepers, which have the ability to wield energy in a way that the mothers cannot. Born through the convergence of mothers, the keepers grow up in a way similar to the creatures here on planet Earth. Here we can see the developmental stages of the Arctic keeper. The forest keeper follows a similar metamorphosis in its development. Here we can see a glimpse of its growth process.
And here we see the Arctic keeper in its mature state, hardy and meaty with cold, callous details throughout its body. The blubbery mushroom-like forms help to keep this keeper warm while taking care of the harsher mother environments.
And here we can see the forest keeper in its finished form. The forest keeper is crunchy and calloused with pine cone prickles protruding out from the core of the keeper. These forms help to catch and store energy in their nooks.
These keepers are a team, functioning as individuals in a larger whole. Together, they ensure the flow of energy is respected and shared amongst the mothers. Here, we can see the developmental stages of the forest mother cells as it progresses and evolves. Here we can see the fully developed Arctic mother cells, starting from merely just a brushstroke across the canvas and developing into a boisterous shell. As we rotate around the mature forest cells, we begin to see a whole new level of detail as we peer into the intricate caverns within its form. We can see the taxonomy of details as our eyes travel from the green rocky parts to the softer orange parts. In addition to the private nooks and crannies and caves, we can see a series of communal public spaces. This mature forest cell activates as the cell continues to grow details as energy is infused. The more we peer around this cell, the more we can see the utopia that is becoming.
As we rotate around the Arctic mother cell, we feel icy and cold. This mother appears to be made from two materials, each reacting and responding differently to the harshness of the environment. Seasoned by the bitter frost, the pink parts feel prickly and cold, and there is a sharpness in their geometry jutting out like icicles. The blue blubber parts of the mother cell respond to the cold by becoming calloused. These mother cells are ever-changing and developing, which can be seen by the wart-like textures forming on parts of the blue.
Inside the Arctic mother cell is a feeling of magic, as we can see the energy blooming throughout the mother.
The fountains are activated with raw energy particles exuding throughout, allowing for interface between the mother cells and the creatures within. As the energy is processed throughout the mother cell, it becomes viscous and is stored for later use in the pods. These energy pods are stored throughout the cell, and here we can see them in the columns like columns of the interior. Here we can see the energy pods stored underneath the callous mushroom-like forms. And the more we look at the Arctic mother, the more we can see detail and purpose.
As we travel through the forest, we see the utopia of life.
This form feels like a treehouse. As we travel up the trunk of the cell, we can see the canopy that forms for shade and privacy. Zooming into the canopy, we see a plethora of fountains which bloom with life. These fountains act as interfaces between the mother and the creatures within. For the shy creatures in this ecosystem, there's even an energy waterfall that allows for creatures of any size access to the energy. Similarly to the Arctic mother, we see the processed energy stored in bulbous storage pods. These pods can be found underneath the caps of the bulbous mushrooms as well. The more we look at the forest mother, the more we can see detail and purpose.
Here we see the rare currents of the keepers inside the mother cells as they wield energy to maintain the mothers. We must be quiet as to not scare them, as these monolithic keepers appear small and sensitive as they care for their very vast mothers.
As these mother cells mature, they are ready to grow and amalgamate with other cells, creating large migratory mother ecosystems.
In these cell systems, like stays with like, with the Arctic cells drawn to other Arctic cells and the forest cells drawn to other forest cells.
But similarly to the evolution on planet Earth, the cells evolve sometimes in unexpected ways, as we can see the forest and the Arctic cell have grown together in this one spot.
And here we see our cells in their final form on the barren planet. They are ready to grow, divide, and multiply into a mature mother creature to nurture their ecosystems within.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful project. So thank you guys for sharing. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to see everyone here today, and thank you for sharing your projects and you know, like your progress so far. Feel free, guys, like to ask any questions also, like to the students from this year, you know, like, and ask them how they're doing. I want to ask you guys like how you're feeling, how you're doing first. I know that there has been a lot of learning, but I see that also like exactly like I'm very proud to see that everyone has such unique voice and such unique projects.
We're doing pretty good. We're overwhelmed and tired, but all in the best ways.
By the way, Kate and Michael won some award for their prosthesis already. They entered it in this metaverse character competition and won some award.
Yeah, we won a creator prize for our mushroom keeper. Unfortunately, I heard through the grapevine that we were supposed to win one for both keepers, but we can only win one. So they chose the mushroom. But it was pretty cool.
Pretty exciting.
That is cool, guys. Super, super happy for you.
Yeah. And we had another student win or was in display in some design week with her prosthesis. The name's slipping me right now. Yeah, I can. In Cairo Design Week from Fatma, her thing was selected to display in Cairo Design Week. It's in our news on our website.
Yeah. Last year also, like we had like some awards from I think Corpuscle phase though. Like.
Yes, yeah, they were entering them in competitions, and a few of them won some competitions with them too. So that is cool.
We do have a question. Sorry, maybe I don't understand, but how mushrooms are reproducing each other?
I was just typing out a reply. So this chapter and next will be developing these mother creatures, and it's the convergence of two giant mother systems and the energy transference that forms a new keeper, which is kind of like this alchemy spiritual. Yeah, it's a rare creature.
Oh, thank you. I think that Nadia also, by the way, guys, don't be shy, just like open your camera so, you know, like we can ask like everyone together. I think that Nadia is asking also from last year, this year's, guys, what is your favorite part of the program?
I think I'll start out. So I came from kind of an industrial design background, and then I moved into science and kind of academia. And so I was a little bit nervous to kind of enter the 3D modeling or design world, even though that's where I kind of wanted to take the next chapter in academia after science. And so the community here has just been so supportive to allowing, you know, Kate and I to implement so much of our kind of biological inspiration and admiration into it. So just the community, although it's a virtual master's, you don't even feel sometimes that it's virtual because you can kind of text or call anyone and set up meetings and chat. So it's really nice.
Yeah, I think I'll second that and say like, it's virtual, but you're never necessarily alone. Like even in undergrad, I felt like sometimes they're like, okay, go figure it out, come back, we'll talk about it. But like, here is like, yeah, go figure it out, come back. But it's like, if you kind of hit any like wall at any point in the way, you can kind of reach out for support. And like, we even have like working groups, like some of us like will work and just hang out on like Teams or whatever and just like do our work for like a couple hours and like talk and socialize. And then we run into a problem and we go to the cat police, and then Pedro's like, here's the solution. We're like, oh my God, thank God. And so it's like just an incredible like level of support that I never necessarily like expected that it would be like, because it's international. So it's like literally 24-hour support, which is like really incredible.
That's wonderful to hear, guys. Like you feel supported and you feel that they're always like somebody like to help you throughout the process.
Yeah, I can also add like I really like that during the program we can work with different scales, starting from like the procedures and like developing further. And yeah, like my background was like really conventional architecture, and now it's opening so much possibilities for me. So I really like thankful for this program. It's really exciting.
It's nice to hear. That's what we hope for.
I also love like how like well scheduled this program is, because like as like Mike have already told you guys, we go from chapter to chapter. But like before like joining this program, like I had like some degree like back from university. How we learn is that we have different courses throughout the whole week, and on Monday we learn this thing, on Tuesday we learn this thing, and everything is so scattered that this is not intensive at all, and we have to kind of like learn a bit of everything at once. But the flow of this program really helps me to dig deep into a single chapter or a single software or a single mindset that is suitable for doing this scale of things. And it's just a very unusual, in a good way, an unusual way of learning as in a university course. And I really love this style of learning, which really helps us to pick up especially in chapter 1, where we learn polymodeling. And actually Kong and I, our team, we have like very little experience with polymodeling. We were using mainly Rhino and MOI and like mainly NURB stuff. So polymodeling is like an undeveloped realm of ours. And
now you would think that you're pros.
Not pros, I wouldn't say that. I'm not as arrogant as that, but but at least we managed to learn it within that, say, not even 2 months.
Yeah.
And I already feel like in a single chapter I learned way more than in an year of back in uni when everything is scattered.
And also
I really
in
love
like
this,
usual university, you know, like when I went to university too, like there's also like a bunch of classes you have to take that like you don't really care about, right? Like they're just
like history, and sometimes you need to learn like English, like because mine
getting
is
in the
like
way,
Hong
you
Kong.
know?
We got rid of all of that. No, but yeah, that's a great point, and I'm very happy actually to hear that. Because and because like what's happening is like definitely like for me, even going into computational design and like all this world of 3D design, coming again from a conventional like background and architectural background, like that was like my biggest struggle, right? Like when one day you're learning one software, Tuesday you're learning another thing, then everything is running in parallel and you're just trying to like catch up and just have things ready, but you just don't have the opportunity to really focus on one thing. And because of the complexity of these programs, you need to immerse yourself and just use like the knowledge like as a stepping stone for the next and upgrade and just like get to a higher degree, and then like you can incorporate so many different ways. But when things are running in parallel, it wasn't working for me, and that's why the program is like how it is. Because literally like that's what like I struggled with like throughout my whole education. So I'm really happy that like you recognize it and it's like working for you in that way too.
I'd say for me, coming from a background where everything's super traditional still, like it's, you cut, you sew, it's fashion, it's very physical, and they're just starting to break into the 3D world. This program's definitely like open my eyes to what I can do and what the industry can do. And I'm just excited to apply it to that as well. So I'm excited. It's just an exciting program.
I think for me, what's nice for me is I can see like how much like fun and kind of like personal like attitudes that you all are putting into the projects, like your stance on design and the way things should look, and kind of your stories and narratives. It's always interesting to me because, like, you know, anyone can do like the same old grasshopper stuff over and over and over again, but you just see in forms the same, again, like the same domes, the same, I don't know, Voronoi or hexagon-y things and optimize things, but like to take these tools to like a level of like unique design, I think it's just what's always so interesting to me to see what different people come up with, because all the stuff that you all come up with, I wouldn't think of myself like to come up with, you know, I would do something completely different. So I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, and it needs a lot of courage also to do something like that, right? Like, because design is largely like the expression, extension of yourself, right? Like, it's like, you know, like you're putting yourself out there. So there is a lot of, definitely, like, you know, a lot of encouragement on that side, but like also you guys, like, you know, like putting yourselves out there and like really like going for like what your design ethos is, what you care, like how you want things to be, like, and really standing behind it and continuing growing these ideas and these systems. It's definitely something very powerful that builds a character, right? Like that you have your own voice, like no matter what, like after that, because again, like you know now what, you know, like that means, like having your own personality, your own like ideas, and standing behind them and defending them even throughout like maybe other, you know, like possible scenarios in our lives that like maybe it wouldn't be such an open, you know, like conversation or such an open like space like to express yourselves. Like I feel that becoming stronger in that way also it's going to benefit you like moving forward, like from the program. Growing in confidence, not just in skill. We have again the same question about the workload, one of the favorite. How is the program's workload? If you're working during the program, how was that experience? Is somebody working from this year so they can reiterate?
Yeah, I can touch on it. Kate and I both work, so maybe she has something too, but I kind of worked throughout my undergrad and then into this master's too, working part-time. And it does get intensive sometimes when things overlap, especially like when something's at your company is happening for 2 weeks and then we have our tutors here for 2 weeks. So planning and organization is super important. But I also think that, you know, depending on your partner, Kate has been so amazing. Like there's flexibility with each other to kind of set up your own routine and schedule and just kind of figure it out to get amazing work done. And yeah, I think it's worked out. There's been crazy moments, but nothing too shattering.
Yeah, it's oh, go ahead, Kate. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say also, like, I think in terms of working while doing this, like, it's also nice to have a break, kind of to clear your head, go for a walk. Like that's what you would do normally, kind of like when we're stuck at things. And I think that's like also very much the joy of like having really good synergy with your partner. Is like, you know, when I get stuck on design, I'm like, I can't think anymore. It's been, you know, 6 hours of looking at this. Michael, you take a pass. I'm gonna like go find my Zen, go work on something else. And so there's like something really nice about kind of like the combination of like having different things to think about and to like help your mind rest, and then also having like a great kind of relationship with your partner.
Yeah, by the way, that's a really good life skill in general, like being able to work with people. You know, I always say this also in the program, like in real life, you don't get to choose who you work with for the most part, right? Like you join a company or an office and you are working with people that have been there already or joined at the same time as you. Like you don't get to pick and choose who you work with. So being able to work with all different kinds of people and understanding and compromise and get along, it's just probably one of the biggest skills in actual, career and work. And, I'm co-head of pseudo generation at Wilder World with Oleg Sirocco. And me and him are on chats and calls all the time, doing the same thing. And we're in two completely opposite time zones, so the work never stops. As soon as I'm done, it goes to him, he continues, and then he's done, and it goes to me, and it just goes on and on and on. So you have to get like a kind of understanding with the people you're working with, and the kind of synergy, like you said. It just, it has to, be that way. You have to just be able to work with all kinds of people. So yeah, it's super important. But since Salma said she joined 10 minutes ago, just to reiterate, the working or not working isn't a fact or a definite. It's really depends on the person and how you work with your team member as well. But it's not like you can't work or can work. Like it really depends on the people. We've had people not do as great who aren't working, and we've had people that have had 3 jobs. We told some stories before, who have had like 3 jobs at the same time taking the masters and have done phenomenal. So it really depends 100% on the person, the time management skills, and the organization and coordination.
And I guess I'll just add to that, it definitely helps if you communicate with your work, of course, to see if you can have flexibility during the time of the masters. Like if you're considering it now, I would start to have those conversations with them just to see, if you can hold your academic life at priority a little bit more than your work, even if they allow that.
You'd actually be surprised how many jobs are pretty supportive of. It's not like you're going on vacation, right? Like you're not telling them like, hey, I'm going to I don't know, Hawaii for 9 months, right? Like they're pretty supportive of career development moves. I mean, a good company should be supportive of that, and most companies that I've been involved with or know that are like actually care about the development of you and the work should support that. But Michael's right, like you should have that conversation.
And I also think, like, just to reiterate, like if you're working with your team member, it's half the work ultimately. Like no one's doing it alone, versus like if you're working against or not, so it's like really like once you kind of come into this, like you get into like the DesignMorphine flow. It's not like you're dying and like drowning in work. It's like really everybody's working towards the same goals, and the tutors are here to support you. Like everyone's kind of working towards it, and so you're dividing up the work really well.
I'd also like to add something from kind of my perspective and experience. 2 points I think maybe a benefit to anyone in the audience that may have gone through a similar experience or is going through something. I came from a purely architectural background from, I did my bachelor's in Princeton University. And now I'm doing footwear full-time, doing my own kind of independent work and also, other sort of collaborations. But if you're worried about the kind of transferability of knowledge and design skills from going from one industry to another, or you're still exploring, I still think that there's so much value in like everything that you're learning. It's not geared towards something very specific. It's very more broad and interactive between, what you're trying to achieve. Ultimately, the work that you put in and the studying that you're going to put into the program is going to affect how your career is impacted by the sort of things that you're trying to achieve, vision and goal wise. It's always important to have overarching visions and goals that, what you want to get out of the program, so you can take those over to what you're doing and then, really elevate that. And the kind of second point is, like you might have doubts, this is an online master's. You might say, oh, This is maybe untraditional, which is, for me, it was a no-brainer to kind of go into something untraditional. I've been through that whole traditional route of architecture. I've done a bunch of plans, sections, all that, all the type of stuff that, you spend hours doing, and you figure that there's more to design than, just that, that there's something that is, the soul is craving. And for me, it was footwear, and I was trying to figure out, after, I have conversations with Pavlina, just trying to figure out, maybe this could be like a really, dominant career path for me, and trying to, sort it out. It's a bunch of mystery. Ultimately, like, I believe that, computational design, first of all, is like the future of design education. It has to be a necessity, computational design, and it's proliferating all types of different fields. As we've seen, automotive, Apple, as you've spoken, different car brands. If you look at a bunch of new car brands, you're going to see
even Amazon was hiring for computational designer. I have no idea what they're going to be doing, but they're hiring for that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, of all these,
well, I actually know what they're doing.
Yeah,
you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, not there.
Because it was in the CD Next. Francis Batonti is working on this stuff. They're like, I mean, there's a whole world. Speaking of Amazon, I mean, there's a whole world of very complex things that happen in shipping, right? Like, shipping is probably our world's most complex network of coordination. So it's all about shipping optimization and all this stuff, and these robots and all this crazy stuff, and like, I mean, you have to think about it. If you order something from Amazon, it's just crazy that someone somewhere can locate this very small specific thing that you ordered, and it traveled already 2 countries in some random warehouse on some shelf. Like, these are all coordinated in some very complex system. So that's what they're using it for, these kind of things. More of like a coding and systems management kind of thing. It's just applicable in all kinds of shapes and forms,
But yeah, thank you for sharing there. Definitely, yeah, like coming from an Ivy League school, right? Like the traditional route, like what is like mostly like, expected like to learn like into a totally, like a new way of working, new way of thinking, and, like being educated.
It's also nice when when you start to think that way, I think a lot of things become easy, like, I just switched from Grasshopper to Houdini full time, and it was like nothing. I mean, you understand the processes. There's like, the processes are the processes, like the only thing that you have to deal with is then like learning a user interface. I mean, how long does that take? Not so long, So it's really the thinking also that comes with all of this. Just that different way of thinking and solving problems.
Yeah, and especially again, like because these are industry leading softwares, like even if a company you're interested in or like works with something that like it's going to be NURBS based or polygon based or computational design based. So exactly, like having a good foundation like gives you the confidence, and you can go to an interview and basically like land a job, and then figure out like from there like what like the specific tasks require. And that's a very big thing, because a lot of times, actually the majority of the times when we're talking about like hiring and postings, they're very vague. They might be even written out like by our HR, like representative that like might not understand exactly like the requirements of the job. And then you go to an interview and it's something that you have literally have not thought about, right? Like, and they're like, oh, okay, so do you know Houdini? But, it wasn't like about a Houdini job, like it wasn't written. But that's the thing, that like in any situation, like with just the knowledge of this, like all these programs and understanding how they work, like you can also like say with confidence, yes, I understand it, you know, like I know what we're talking about, like I can, you know, spend more time like to problem solve in it. And I think that that's the biggest thing, because, you know, there might be opportunities that you might be scared to going into because of, again, like just like barriers like that, right? Like, and it comes again, experience and, you know, confidence, which is one of the most important things. But also, I would say the other aspect of things is like just to how to work with each other and how to be respectful towards each other and how to stand your own ground as a designer. These things are also some things that like are very, very important. Like, you know, like in going into any kind of design field, and it doesn't matter if you're working for yourself or others.
There's all kinds of things. By the way, Apple is using Grasshopper to configure the iPhone internals. Like, how tightly can they pack all of these parts? You know, that was one that I know of, to get these phones thinner and thinner and thinner. I don't know if you've ever opened up an iPhone versus another phone, but the iPhone has literally no space. I mean, it's perfectly packed, right? It's you know, versus other phones which are maybe have a lot of space in them, and you know, which no one would really care about, but they're, you know, that's just something Apple cares a lot about, right? It's like this kind of optimization of smaller, more packed kind of things. So I thought that was also another interesting thing. Pepsi was hiring. For them, it was like shipping optimization in a way of like how many bottles, like what are the best ways to package these bottles and stuff that they can, you know, ship more in.
We work also
in less volume. Yeah, WeWork was doing that was a big thing at WeWork. Yeah, actually, almost when WeWork first came up, before they like had their whole ordeal and kind of collapsed a bit. Like almost all of my Grasshopper friends were working at WeWork, and they were just working on like all this stuff to make them the most optimal office layouts kind of stuff, you know, like, because that whole thing is like, it's New York, it's real estate. How much money can we make per square foot, right? So like real estate is expensive, rent is expensive. So how many seats and stuff can we get into this one space? That, you know, so it's kind of all these, you know, it's not only design. There's just like so many things, you know. I did my taxes once with Grasshopper, you know. So
no,
you know.
come on. You're taking it to a different level now.
It's a beautiful calculator. It's like advanced Excel. You know, I mean, you can do all these kind of stuff. Yeah.
Now, are you doing your taxes now with Houdini? Not.
No, believe it or not, Houdini is not good at this kind of stuff. That's one thing I'll always use. You know, we're making these NFT collections, and we're using the only thing we're using Grasshopper for is creating like the rarity sheets, rarity documents, because if anyone that uses Houdini, you know, you just can't like the kind of data management in terms of things that should be like Excel sheets should come from Grasshopper. Like Houdini is just not doing that, you know, or at least not in such an accessible way.
Definitely, but again, like no matter where you apply it, at least for what we've seen, like especially also in architecture, if you're in a computational design department, that's again like, you know, like highly specialized teams, like that are working under totally different conditions. The whole company might be like a huge company working under like certain ways and hours and pay, and the computational design team is a totally different story. Exactly, because of these skills being so sought after and like growing more and more in demand.
But we do shoot all that data over to Houdini to actually create the stuff.
Yeah, you'll become Houdini masters now.
Well, You have a question here from Rohan. Rohan is saying, can we enroll for the course and decide to apply for the scholarship later, considering the scholarship deadline is later? So basically he's asking, can he enroll sooner, but then apply for the scholarship later as long as it's within the scholarship deadline?
Well, what I would say is that it's best to have some kind of a portfolio, because like when we review, that's a good question.
I would say if you're planning to apply for the scholarship deadline, I would just apply for the scholarship deadline with the portfolio. It's not going to really change your chances or anything if you apply first and then you really meant to try a scholarship and then you apply for that.
Yeah, it plays a role, like where like you first, like then you're going to be reviewed as a non-scholarship, get like, you know, a conditional letter if everything like goes well, and then like you can still get a scholarship at a later, you know, point after the first of April. We're going to announce those either way. So at that point, like you might be, you know, deducted the scholarship for future, you know, like if you're choosing like to pay in installments. So yeah, there are different ways like to go about things, but you can update your application like with like changing it to a scholarship application later on, providing the link of the portfolio, because that's the only difference, right? Like the portfolio link.
But I would say there's probably not a benefit to do it first and then it's, like if you know you're going to apply for a scholarship, might as well just
do it that way.
Yeah. Deadline. Yeah, like there wouldn't be a benefit to doing it twice. I think.
It would be, because if they apply for the early application, they get a discount. That's
discount. Okay.
Yeah, but you have 15 days to that deadline. So if you have time, better put things together and apply then. If you want to get both sides. Okay, do we have any other questions?
Anonymous is asking, may I ask which month will the scholarship recipients be notified?
In April. We have a committee that meets after the 1st of April, where is the deadline. We review all documentation, go through the portfolios, the work you provided, the 6 images and the letter of content, and like the information that like you provided about your work and your background and interest about the program. And after this process, you might be asked to join us for an interview process, and then like you get notified about like the scholarships.
Well, I think that's it for questions. Everyone that's here, if you came in late, this video will be on YouTube probably later today or tomorrow, depending on your time zone, and we'll send an email to notify everyone that's here or registered that it's there. If you want to watch it again or review it. And just want to remind everyone, if you have more questions or just want to discuss things or your opportunities, it's good to reach out to masters@designmorphine.com. And you can request a one-on-one Zoom call, which will most likely be with Paulina. And yeah, we can answer any questions you have and talk about anything you want. I think many of these students here right now did that as well. And I think it's informative if you're having questions or doubts.
Yes, don't hesitate to reach out for a one-to-one. Like it's quite helpful. I think that Nadia mentioned it also at some point, like in the chat. This is because exactly like everyone has like their specific questions, situations, you know, like things that they want to talk about. So don't hesitate, you know, like to reach out and have a conversation. It's a 30-minute conversation that might really clear things up for you. We're here, you know, throughout this whole process. I also have this Calendly link, like to set up your own time if that's easier for you guys. I'll be having some more openings on my calendar soon, because I understand that like towards the deadlines, you know, like more and more people are interested to schedule more time. So I'll look into like updating a little bit more the calendar, having more time for these one-to-ones. But also you can also reach out to the master's email, especially if it has to do with documents. You know, like you're unsure about like the process, I would say like I encourage you to apply a little bit earlier or to reach out to the master's email for that, because that's where we can review this with the university and Sveti and Eva.
Thelma is asking, are you going to incorporate some on-ground experiences? I'm not exactly sure what on-ground experience means, but I think maybe it means like in-person experiences. Correct me if I'm wrong, Salma. But yeah, so we have some for instance, we just had a collaboration with Microsoft where our first year and second year students went, and that was in October in New York City at the Microsoft Garage for a week. It was a week, right? A week.
Yeah.
It was a workshop with Microsoft, and also visiting a lot of things around the cities and events, and just getting to meet. And then there's one coming up in Sofia, Bulgaria, which is when?
In the end of June. That's towards the end of the program, when again, like both years are invited. And we're going to have like the students that are from this year, they have the opportunity to work with their core leads in person in the university to finalize their work and curate the chapter works they've done throughout the year and finalize the video. So like with Unreal, so final deliverables for the program. And after that, we're going to be celebrating their final presentation, but also at the same time, we have invited our last year students for their official ceremony to receive their diplomas and have a graduation party. So basically, like we have like a couple of times a year, I think we're going to like keep that happening, like having in-person opportunities to work together, have different challenges, like design challenges, like visit different cities and visit also like Sofia and the university, since it's a great city also like to visit and to, you can also like make it an extended vacation after that, like and go in Europe and check some other places.
And Anonymous is asking, if we don't have any or very little experience in computer design, how hard will it be to be in the same pace with others? I would say everyone that joins has little experience in it. I mean, that's why you're here. I mean, if you already knew it, you wouldn't join Computational Design Masters, I think. So you'd just be the same as everyone else getting in there. And yeah, I think you'll be just fine as long as you're willing to study and work.
Yeah, we start from the beginning on everything, like from zero, because again, different backgrounds, different, like people. So obviously, like we start from the beginning on every single like software. So you'll have the opportunity like to be like exactly on pace with everyone else.
Okay, I think that's about it. We should end it here, I think.
Yes, perfect.
A bit over on time, but that's okay. And yeah, and anyone that's just joined or missed it, go to our YouTube and you can see past presentations from the masters. And thank you all the students that are here and educators for your time today as well. And, we really appreciate that. We know you're all busy with the actual master's work, so thank you for taking your time out for this. Yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you so much, guys. It's always so wonderful to see you and to see the work and the progress. Thank you for sharing like your experiences and with the rest of the community. And Thank you for the students from this year, also like to our alumni who we're so proud of, and we'll see you soon, guys. And thank you also to all our guests for your interest and for joining us today. It's always a pleasure. And again, don't hesitate to reach out like with more questions. It's a process. Obviously, you'll have more questions, and we're happy to answer them like through this master's email that we sent to you here on the chat. And again, watch all the tutorial, all the videos like on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining. It was amazing. Thanks.
Goodbye. All the best.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.